All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into this. Thank y'all so much for being here, for tuning in. Trigger warning. Thank you, Kyle. This stream is going to be discussing sexual violence and graphic violence overall. So yeah, here we go. I don't really know what to say other than the same way I've been the entire time. This is all very disgusting. I'm incredibly disappointed in this entire fucking excuse for a community, whatever fuck it wants to call itself at this point. Why does it take this? Why do women, particularly the victims of sexual and relationship violence, constantly have to subject themselves to increased public scrutiny, all sorts of interrogations of their character, their dignity, their personal lives, their private lives, their thoughts, their everything. And then they have to drag themselves out in front of the general public, turn their pain, suffering, and trauma into public spectacle, or else the public is not satisfied that it has not gotten its pound of flesh. Without its pound of flesh and without everybody's personal ability to launch their own investigation, none of y'all have the fucking skills, competence, educational experience, expertise, moral integrity, or human decency to be involved in any of that. Yet you are going to play judge, jury, and executioner, and unless you can become 100% convinced by irrefutable proof beyond a reasonable doubt and the personal, explicit, painful, excruciating testimony of the victim themselves, you maintain your right to completely live in a fan fiction where these things, I guess, just don't happen to people like you in communities like yours. We are here to shatter that illusion today. Now, this whole situation currently presents me with a complex mix of emotions. I'm utterly humiliated and embarrassed to have associated with the type of, first off, let's just say the assailant, Elliot Martin, Secularity, who, by the way, just got finished hosting a stream live on the Atheist Experience with Dr. Darrell Ray. All they wanted to talk about was the events they're organizing. They're gearing up for NANOCON 2026. This man's entire brand is secular community building and secular leadership. Dr. Darrell Ray and Elliot Martin of Secularity, the assailant in this case, are hosting events and teaching classes on secular leadership. That is what you call playing in the victim's face. Knowing that the victim's sister put Dr. Darrell Ray and his organization on notice about exactly what happened and who exactly did it. And the atheist community of Austin was also put on notice about exactly what happened. The atheist community of Discord also put on notice about exactly what happened. So all these people had all the information I'm finna share with you. All this information is shit we've shared with you. I've done, I believe, well in excess of 10 hours of content about this. Motherfuckers was telling us, we don't believe you, they're liars, we don't have the receipts, why should we believe you? Show us the receipts. Made 10 plus hours of content about this shit. Motherfucker said, there's too many receipts. There's too much content about the receipts. I can't watch all that. You've made too much. That's how this community gets down. This community goes, show me the fucking receipts or else I can't believe you. Oh, you showed me the receipts? That's too many goddamn receipts. I ain't got time for all that shit. That's y'all. That's y'all. This letter, and motherfuckers gonna say, oh, they trying to start drama, they're trying to stir up attention, they're trying to get clicks and likes and be divisive. Motherfuckers tried to distribute this letter quietly behind the scenes, say, hey, you know, you were a key party. People tried to put you on. We tried to let you know what happened. Ain't nobody do nothing. Ain't nobody say nothing. Nobody wanted to bring it forward. There's so much I could get into, but you know, in the interest of time, I'm gonna just try to keep it pushing as best I can. I will say that all of that negative emotion is balanced by you know, an extraordinary sense of pride at the brave women that I happen to be able to call friends. Um, First off, the sister Patty has just been holding it down from moment one for her sister, just staying on message and really staying on top of this thing. And of course, PC and Kyle and Sumami, you know, for really all of them being survivors of this shit themselves, who have just refused to give into the intense amount of shame and embarrassment and social pressure and community ostracization that they have experienced. So literally, this is a story of a community of secular people that prides itself on being skeptics and prides themselves on being safe spaces and feminist and all of this type of bullshit. And this is the most violent assault that has happened in the history of any of these fucking atheist events. And this entire community has done nothing but blame the victims and then harass and blame the whistleblowers. So, but when people finally wake the fuck up and stop acting like MAGA living in a world of delusions, when you wake the fuck up and realize what the fuck happened, we're going to have to talk about how this community responded and how it has been failure on top of failure on top of failure on top of failure at every level. At every level, from the people who were at the fucking conference and did not call the cops, to the organizers who were made aware of it and did not handle it appropriately, to the sponsors who did not hold anybody accountable, to the women in the community, to the trans people in the community, to all the marginalized people in the community who did not show up for this woman and instead found ways to victim blame so they could keep themselves aligned and in proximity to the popular kids and the popular platforms, to the way that which people have sidestepped this whole story and organized it, to the way large platforms like The Line have openly laughed on holiday streams, have openly laughed about what happened, and then added themselves to the featured speakers at NANOCON so they could promote and lend their brand. You have been supporting, subscribing, sending super chats, and licking the nuts. You have been fangirling monsters. And every single motherfucker in this audience needs to take serious stock of the organizations, the opinion pieces, the talking heads, the nonprofits, the events that you have been lending your support to. Because they are all fucking dog shit. They are all unsafe. Hashtag boycott NANOCON. So it's this weird mix of emotions, and I apologize in advance for any, you know, weird emotions that may come out of me this whole time, because again, it's a weird mix. Like, again, I'm horrified by all of this, but I'm so proud of the women that have held it down for this. And I'm so proud of Nancy, and I admire her courage and her strength to actually come forward to produce a notarized letter, and to her sister for making it available so the rest of us can talk about it. So, you know, I'm happy that this has happened. I'm proud that she has found the inner strength, courage, and determination to speak up on her own behalf and set the record straight. And also for anybody that was insisting that we were not acting with Nancy's support or permission or approval, we have received word of Nancy's personal appreciation for the efforts made forth here on this channel, along with those same whistleblowers that I just mentioned, namely PC, Kyle, and Sumami. So if Nancy appreciates our efforts, the rest of y'all can have these. If Nancy appreciates our effort, the rest of y'all can have these. One more time for the students in the back who are late to class. If Nancy appreciates our efforts, the rest of y'all can have these. Okay? So we're grateful to her for letting us know that she's strong enough to bring this story forward, and we're going to continue to do what we have to do to support her. Let's go ahead and let Patty get into telling us what's going on.
Many of you have been asking why Nancy hasn't been on Apostate Sisters. For those who are new here, I created this channel with my sister Nancy so we could talk openly about our lives and experiences. What I'm sharing today is different, and it matters. Nancy asked me to read her written statement publicly. In it, she explains why she stepped away. She also shares her account of what she experienced at NANOCON 2025, a secular conference, and everything that happened in the months that followed. I was with Nancy in the immediate hours after the incident she describes. I saw her, spoke with her, and witnessed her distress. This statement includes descriptions of physical and sexually charged violence, so please take care while watching. Please engage with this responsibly. This is not cause for harassment or threats. Accountability should never come through harm. With that context, I'm going to read Nancy's statement in full.
All right, and just quick pause. Y'all know how Patty gets down, but you just heard her say that she does not wish any harm or harassment to come to the people involved, but we're going to talk about the people involved. They are the flying monkeys. That is the correct term for them. I'm going to continue to call them flying monkeys because that is what they did. That is who they are. So those people need to take accountability for their behavior, but the same thing, the rest of us have always been on the same page. Shut the fuck up, quit with the bullshit, change your mind, stop being part of the problem and become part of the solution. But y'all know no matter what we say or do, no matter how careful Patty is with her words, she's going to be accused of trying to bring all sorts of pain and torment and trials and tribulations to all of the people involved. For my 2 cents, fuck each and every last one of you. You deserve whatever you have coming to you. Learn how to be an adult like the rest of us. Take responsibility for the harm you've caused towards others. Take accountability for your behavior. Change your behavior and become a better fucking human being. Okay? But I will not stand for the bullshit and the slander of people trying to act like Patty is, sending people after other people. That's not what this is about. But we are going to tell this story publicly, and people are not going to use that type of, oh, I'm being bullied. Oh, people are saying mean things to me. Bitch, y'all fucked up. Y'all fucked up. People are going to let you know you fucked up. Get ready. Handle it. Handle it. It's words coming from people on the internet. Words you need to hear because your behavior deserves the feedback you have coming to you.
To whom it may concern. On the night of July 25th, 2025, during NANOCON 2025, a horrifying incident took place within the concrete back stairwell of the lodge at Montgomery Bell in Burns, Tennessee. This incident would not only be the most cruel and brutal, disparaging, humiliating, and frightening event that I've ever endured. The things that transpired following would also be the most dehumanizing. Over 6 months later, I'm still reeling from the shock, and only now do I feel I have the strength to release the full story. Straight from me. For years, the online atheist community was my strength. Growing up in a doomsday cult, I learned very quickly how dangerous groups with a common purpose and charismatic leaders can be.
All right, hang on.
People could be free to not only reveal their true selves, but thrive in it.
All right, hang on. Let me just pick that up real quick. So she said the atheist community felt different. It felt like a home where I could create the family life I never had, and people could be free to not only reveal their true selves, but thrive in it.
Not believing in deities or the supernatural myself, I clung on to this community and eventually joined the ranks with my sister Patty, becoming hosts of our own YouTube channel, Apostate Sisters. Our main goal was to share our story in hopes of helping others heal from the traumas of high control religion, including sexual abuse. It didn't take long for us to get connected with well-known people within the atheist community, especially after we began attending conferences and making friends. But this would be short-lived, because after this incident, everything changed. It was mid-afternoon in the lobby of the lodge when I was approached by Elliot Martin, aka Secular Rarity. We had met in person for the first time briefly while attending the Ark Encounter protest in Kentucky, only a couple weeks prior.
And see, I was there for that. That's where I met SR in person for the first time, and I met Nancy and many other people from the community. And that's what pisses me off, because a lot of the flying monkeys I actually stayed in the house with, and, you know, them same motherfuckers turned around, and when this shit happened, acted like they didn't fucking know me. And all of a sudden, I was just out here in the streets telling this story for no fucking reason. And I feel so hurt and betrayed by those people. But so many of the people that have put their hat in the ring, that have put themselves into this situation by doing live streams about it or talking shit about it or having back and forth in their discords about it, have all acted like they didn't know us. And so it's horrifying. Y'all got to remember, they did this shit to the Apostate Sisters. I can't even imagine how this community respond if somebody assaulted my black ass. As racist and as undeconstructed from your goddamn white supremacy as most of these motherfuckers are, the fact that y'all did this to the motherfucking Apostate Sisters, who have just been nothing but the friendliest community builders, so pleasant and nice to everybody. And the only way most of y'all could get more than 100 eyeballs on you at any fucking time. So if y'all did this to them, oh, I know this community has no fucking loyalty for people like me. None at all. But yeah, it really pisses me off that I actually met all these people. And some of y'all will remember, because I came back and that's all I was talking about. How great it was to meet everybody, how much everybody needs to, you know, go to in-person events and go to conferences and try to link up with your friends. And we all have to be in each other's lives. And here I sit before you and telling you I would never be caught dead. Even after all this shit, I would never be caught dead at one of them fucking conferences or fucking conventions. That's the cost. That's the price. That's the price of realizing you've gone from one cult to another. You've gone from one insane, toxic group that denies reality and makes it in ways that makes it thoroughly unsafe for people and could literally almost gets people killed, to another cult that practices and dangerous denials of reality that literally almost got one of your friends fucking killed.
We got to chatting, and since we were right by the bar, I offered to buy him a drink. He already seemed a little drunk, but I wasn't going to police him. After 2 drinks, our conversation turned toward flirtatious, at least as far as I could tell from my end. Being in a monogamous marriage, I wasn't worried about anything happening while attending one of these conferences, as I knew myself and wasn't the type of person to cheat on their spouse. After 10 years of marriage, I still never have. I also believed that men of the atheist community were different, such that I could be good friends with men and not worry about any sexual advances or unwanted attention against my wishes. So I relaxed and engaged in what I thought was some harmless flirtation.
Now, I got to say right there, Women out here in these secular spaces, let this be a lesson to all of us. And I don't mean to put this on y'all like that, but we can't have y'all being that type of naive. We can't have y'all thinking, oh, I thought I left the church and now I'm with a bunch of secular men and I'm much safer around secular men. Let me tell you something. Human being, I'm telling you, I'm speaking to you right now straight as a fucking biologist, the same way I'll be speaking to my students. Human beings are the most dangerous species on the fucking earth. We have wiped out so much plant and animal life. It's unbelievable. And if you thought that was impressive amount of destruction, just look at what we do to each other. Okay? And within that human species, men commit well over 90% of all same-sex homicides. Please understand what I'm trying to talk to you. Every day when I look in the mirror and see an atheist, secular man, even one that considers himself an intersectional feminist, really gives a fuck about women and tries very hard to be a safe person, I recognize every single day when I look into the mirror as a man, I am looking at the most dangerous creature that has ever walked the surface of this planet. That motherfucker right there in the mirror looking back at me, looking like he got my face. That motherfucker right there named Jason Bundy, is capable of a type of destruction that defies words, simply by the nature of being a human adult man. Okay? So I just need everybody, I don't care what type of group you in, out of, with, or not with, to be very realistic about who the fuck men are. And that includes men, our goddamn selves.
I had seen Elliot on atheist channels before and found him to be very charismatic and charming, highly intelligent and witty, and even adorable. He was young and energetic, and I found myself becoming intrigued.
Hold up. Kyle said the women have been more vile than any of the assaulters. Now, that is also true, and I'm going to try to round up the men and be like, men, we have to do better. But the shit I've seen in this situation from these women, Kyle, you 1,000% right, and it has broken my heart, and I don't even know what to say about it. I'm going to just say this. This woman, the same way she thought she was safe turning to secular men and that she could feel safer and let her guard down being around secular men, she thought she would be believed by secular women. And she thought she could let her guard down and that secular women know to believe women and believe victims, and she was wrong about that too. That's what I mean when I say this is a community level failure. And what we're not going to pay a whole lot of time on because it shifts the focus to us and it really ain't about us. But people want to talk shit about us being involved like we did this to start drama. Motherfuckers need to know the truth. We were targeted, okay? This isn't the stream to really talk about all the specifics of the who said what to who and the when and the how. But I'm going to tell you one motherfucking fact that needs to be stood on business from the rooter to the tutor. I'm going to tell you one thing motherfuckers need to keep in mind this entire time when you're talking about the crew of people. That includes myself, Patty, Kyle, PC, and Sumami, and thank you for his unconditional support, my main man, Trees. But the reality is, we didn't know anything about this until the flying monkeys themselves, specifically Bree, went out of their way to come into our shared virtual office and tell us lies, targeted us with lies, telling us all the bullshit about Patty and Nancy are lying, and you're going to hear rumors being spread about what happened at NANOCON. So everybody talking about we just wanted to start drama and we just wanted to start fights and we're so divisive. We didn't know shit about this. We was minding our fucking business. And quite frankly, after we were told that story, we were like, okay, sure, I guess, all right, because we didn't know no better. None of us was fucking there. But again, finally, because again, these women are smart and they're brilliant and they're survivors, they eventually started piecing it up. Like, why are people saying these things to us? Why is everybody? Wait, now I'm starting to hear conflicting stories. This shit ain't adding up. None of this shit is making sense. And what these damn flying monkeys didn't expect us to do was reach out to Patty. And eventually, I found myself going, look, a bunch of people are saying this shit is fucked up and it didn't happen. A bunch of people now, whatever, but I trusted the women around me. And they told me something wasn't adding up. So I reached out to Patty. And like I said, Patty has been standing on business about exactly what has happened from moment one to right now. Okay. So that's why I don't even listen to people when they talk about, oh, y'all did this for drama. Y'all did this for clicks and like. First off, I know how to do YouTube. This has done nothing but hurt my channel and cost me subs. So if I'm going to do something for clicks and likes, you should probably be suspicious when I do something that, I don't know, actually gets me clicks and likes. But for what it's worth, for anybody that gives a fuck, we were targeted.
It was one of the first times I had traveled out of my home state without my husband, but up to this point, I still hadn't registered any red flags. With the freeing sexual energy that wafted off the atheist community, I allowed myself this stimulating interaction to also feel free from what I can only describe as a mundane sex life back home that was frustrating me. Elliot was a refreshing reminder that I was still desirable, so I appreciated the brief conversation with him. But when another couple of people came over to join the conversation, Elliot seemed annoyed and abruptly left. When evening came around, dinner and festivities began. I was a good 3 drinks in and having fun conversations with fellow YouTubers at the bar that I considered friends at the time. Elliot approached me once more. I was having so much fun with everyone and was thrilled to see him come to me that I put my arm around him and reached up to kiss his cheek, which was meant as a friendly gesture from excitement. Elliot was not only a coordinator of the entire conference, but he was basically famous within the
No, we need to get rid of the line. Fuck the line. Absolutely boycott the line. Again, the line thought this was something to go on air on New Year's with a celebrity panel and laugh and tell jokes about and accuse us of starting drama. And then knowing good and goddamn well we were talking about a sexual assault that their host had publicly participated in the victim shaming of, decided to take their most prominent featured personality, yes, Matt Dillahunty, and add themselves to the NANOCON 2026 lineup. The line knows exactly what the fuck is going on. The line said, fuck you and your friends. And we are adding ourselves after all of this to the NANOCON lineup just so we can push NANOCON harder. If you are still watching the line, you are part of an abusive cult that is hurting you. You are doing the same thing you did when you were in church and you ignored the fact that the church was harming the people around you. If you are a supporter of the line, you are a supporter of a network that has harmed friends like you and decided that those are the organizations we need to lend our support to even harder. If you are watching the line, you hate yourself, and I don't know what else to tell you.
Community, and this made me feel special in a way that someone so important and admired was showing me attention. At some point, I felt bold enough to tell him how cute he was, and that I did have a bit of a crush on him. I noticed he was extremely drunk and or on some kind of mind-altering substance, because he was sweating profusely and talking erratically. He seemed surprised, yet delighted by my admission, and said he had no idea. He grabbed my hand and began leading me around to the various groups of people within the lobby and on the deck outside. Though I couldn't understand his incoherent interaction with others, I just laughed because I was having a great time. He then
y'all going through the list, but that's why I said boycott all these organizations. They thought we was playing when we said boycott all these organizations. I told you, it's AXP, it's the atheist community, it's the American Humanist Association, it's fucking Freedom from Religion Foundation, Recovering from Religion Foundation. They're all part of the same incestuous network of conservative fucking white men who literally don't do shit about anything. All of these organizations by now knew or should have known about this and have continued to sponsor and platform these people. And while they've known and done all this, they've been taking the perpetrator and the flying monkeys and not just continuing to platform them, but to shove them down your throat as the community leaders, the leadership class people, the conference safety community, the let's talk about violence against women people, the morality police. Like, y'all, they've been playing in your face about this shit for months. And how many of y'all dumbasses are still gonna keep sending them super chats and going to their conferences? Please unsubscribe from my channel and never speak to me ever again. Please unsubscribe from my channel and never speak to me again. Please unsubscribe from my channel and never speak to me again.
They pulled me out the front sliding doors of the hotel. I went willingly, as I didn't believe I was in any kind of danger. I trusted him and considered him my friend, though I was unsure of what he was doing when all our other friends were inside. Once outside, this is when he said he knew I was married, yet continued to shove me into the darkened alcove behind the door and kissed me aggressively, then stumbled and knocked us both to the ground. While I was thrown off by his actions, I did laugh this off as him just being drunk and silly. Though I had flirted with him earlier, all I sought was his attention for the night, not anything of a physical manner. But I let that one slide and told myself I would talk to him about it tomorrow. I helped him up, but the moment I did, he took my hand once more and led me through a different door that led to the back stairwell. I was still tipsy and not quite registering what we were doing there, but I assumed he had some place or something he wanted to show me. What would occur was far worse than I could imagine, and my hands literally shake to type this. He led me up a flight of stairs, and when he...
She said, my hands literally shake to type this. That's a trauma response right there. That's her nervous system having to relive the details because she's like, I'm gonna put this down on paper for y'all, and I want to make sure I put it down as accurately as possible. So she has to take her mind and do her best to re-trigger those memories so she could describe what took place accurately. As soon as she tries to re-trigger those memories, before her conscious mind is even aware of her effort to try to remember that accurately, her nervous system has already responded, has already gone into full trauma response mode, and that's why she's literally shaking before she even realizes what's happening.
He turned around. I noticed his eyes were black and lifeless. Sweat was still dripping off his face and hair, and he looked like the angriest person I had ever seen. For the first time that night, I became scared of him. It was then that I flew violently down the stairs behind me, toppling over a couple times before my head smashed into the concrete wall.
Thanks, PC. Love you too. I appreciate that.
He had just pushed me down the stairs with both open palms.
Pushed her down the stairs with both open palms. Pushed her down the stairs with both open palms. Pushed her down the stairs with both open palms. Y'all got me making a one. Am I gonna have to make a fucking techno song out of this shit to make people understand what the fuck kind of serious assault we are talking about here? That shit is wild.
Toppling over a couple times before my head smashed into the concrete wall.
Wait, you gotta hear that again.
It was then that I flew violently down the stairs behind me, toppling over a couple times before my head smashed into the concrete wall. He had just pushed me down the stairs with both open.
Y'all, what are we talking
over a couple
about?
times before
What are we talking about?
Down the stairs behind me, toppling over a couple times before my head smashed into the concrete wall.
Flew down the stairs behind me, toppling over a couple times before my head smashed the concrete wall behind me. He had just pushed me down the stairs with both open palms. Y'all got me all types of fucked up. And again, this is I'm sorry if I seem like I'm not shocked and surprised by this, but I'm not shocked and surprised by this because, again, this is the story Patty told me from day one. This is the story we've been telling y'all from day one. This is the story we made 10 hours of fucking streams telling y'all over and over and over and over. He threw her down the fucking stairs. We told y'all again and again, we're not talking about a simple push. He threw her down the fucking stairs. And here you have her telling you, I flew backwards, I tumbled over multiple times until I finally hit my head on the concrete wall behind me because he had just pushed me down the stairs with both open palms, y'all. Why did this grown ass woman have to take her fucking self to a notary republic, write all of this down on paper, have it notarized, and send it to her own fucking sister so her own fucking sister could read it live on YouTube? I'm gonna tell you why that happened. I'm gonna tell you why she did that. She did that because the flying fucking monkeys who she turned to comfort and console her, the women in the secular community that she turned to and trusted, betrayed her, threw her under the bus, blamed her for everything that happened, and then went on an actual public smear campaign on behalf of the perpetrator, telling everybody in this fucking community, motherfuckers who weren't there, didn't have anything to do with it, weren't talking about it, didn't know anything about it, and going out of their way to let everybody in the community know before, whether they asked or not, that the shit didn't happen and she was lying. So the flying monkeys are the reason we are all gathered here today listening to Patty's video where Nancy had to go have a notarized statement. Does that sound fucking familiar to y'all? Yeah, it should. It sounds like the goddamn Epstein victims having to come the fuck forward on national TV and all the fucking millions and gazillions of people and say, yes, those powerful rich men over there raped us as children. And you already fucking knew that. How many fucking times do you have to be told over and over and over again exactly what the fuck happened? But until you get your pound of flesh, until you've heard enough, until the victims publicly fucking shared their pain and humiliation, and then when they do, you still find fucking excuses not to listen.
He had just pushed me down the stairs with both open palms. I heard a gasp as I glanced up to see him racing down to get me before tripping on the last couple steps and landing atop me, now that I had crumbled to the floor in pain and shock. It was as if he gained a brief moment of clarity and realized when he had done, then asked if I was okay. I remember asking him why he did that because it hurt and came out of nowhere. His concern was short-lived as his rage swiftly returned, and he proceeded to pin me to the ground, telling me he was going to fuck me right there. While I would normally find this type of play kinky and...
He asks if she's okay, and then he goes right back into attack mode. Holy shit, he realized I just pushed her down the stairs. Are you okay? And then right back into the sexual assault. Y'all think I'm playing, y'all. Y'all think I'm playing. I'm just pulling this up real quick so y'all know what we're talking about, because motherfuckers think we just out here saying shit for no fucking reason. Okay. This is the 2-hour stream that started at 5:30 tonight on the Atheist Experience, hosted by the Atheist Community of Austin. It was literally him and Dr. Darrell Ray.
I want people to hear about this really, really awesome thing that you have just recently created, which, for anybody who's not aware of Dr. Darrell Ray's insane history in this space, he is the founder of both Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project, two massively influential organizations in the secular space. The founder of both Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project is the founder of both Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project is the founder of both Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project is the founder of both Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project.
You get the picture now? And that motherfucker was sent a letter by Patty herself, like, hey, you should understand what happened at this event that your organization sponsors. And he's like, what'd you say? Nah, actually, I'm hosting secular leadership classes with Elliot Martin. Nah, what are you talking about? Me and Elliot organize events together. The motherfuckers, y'all, that have been talking about it's my professional expertise to teach you how to recover from religious trauma. I'm going to teach you how to recover from the pain and suffering of being in a cult. Y'all, this was tonight. This was tonight. This just went off the air, y'all. Tonight. After Patty dropped the video, tonight, these motherfuckers were literally, and they was talking about their class and their events and all their secular leadership projects. And the Daryl Ray knows. Patty sent him a direct alert. That motherfucker knows. He has known from the beginning. Elliot Martin is the motherfucking perpetrator. The atheist community of Austin that hosts this show, they have known since the fucking beginning. The atheist community of Discord, that's the community for all of this shit, they have known for months. When I tell you these motherfuckers are playing in your face, you keep supporting them if you want to. They ain't making me look like a fucking idiot. They're making you look like a fucking idiot.
Exciting as it was something new, this was not one of those times. And I made it clear to him that I would not be engaging in this, and I yelled at him to get off. He understood and climbed off, but as I stood, he stared at me for a blank moment, then ripped my shirt up, exposing me to whomever may have walked through. I told him to stop, yanking my shirt back down.
Nope.
Then he walked up the stairs.
Nope. There's first off, yeah, Kyle, good point. There's more victims. And nope, nobody gets to do anything. I don't support anybody in this community doing nothing at the present moment. Y'all motherfuckers need to sit with the failure. I'm telling y'all, a lot of this shit is cope. A lot of this shit, I hate to say this, is it's privileged white motherfuckers who have never had to sit with the realities of marginalization. Imagine being a black family and finding out that the police have just murdered your black child because they were told they were stealing a lollipop from a candy store. Tell me what the fuck that black family can do about it. Tell me what the fuck that black family can do about it. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. They just have to sit here and be black and wake up tomorrow and try to keep living. So we notice how when white folks finally feel just a smidgen uncomfortable, all of a sudden the world has to stop and there has to be magic solutions that can fix this right now. No, there's no, you don't get to just discover that the whole world's been suffering around you. Snap your fucking fingers and then we'll make it go away tomorrow. Now that you are aware that's happened, and I'm not saying that the person that left that comment did this, but this is just my message to everybody. Stop. The lesson everybody needs is to sit with the fucking reality. Sit with the failure. Sit and reflect on the levels of failure. Sit and reflect on the months and months of agony this person has been living with. Sit with the behavior of the flying monkeys. Sit with the behavior of all these organizations. Sit with the behavior of all these charismatic fucking figures. Sit with all of the fucking people that were there, heard about what the fucking happened, and said nothing. Sit with the Facebook thread of thousands of messages of influential motherfuckers you've probably been supporting for years, coming through and inventing new forms of victim blaming. Literally going through every textbook form of victim blaming known to man and then creating some new shit. This community is not fucking ready to be part of the goddamn solution. This community is the motherfucking problem. This community is the motherfucking problem. This community is the fucking harm. This community does not get to anoint itself the saviors and the motherfucking solution. This community gets to go to sleep knowing how unsafe we were for fucking Nancy. That's what the fuck this community gets to do. You get to sit with it.
I followed cautiously, assuming we were returning to the lobby, which I was relieved about. Once we both reached the platform of the steps halfway up, he spun around yet again.
Now, I
and
know you wasn't
strangled
coming
me
at it like
with
Andrew. I
both
appreciate
hands. This lasted several
you. Hang
seconds.
on.
Reached the platform of the steps halfway up, he spun around yet again and strangled me with both hands.
Again, asked her if she's okay, commences to resuming his sexual assault. She's trying to get her fucking self out of the situation, and then he turns around and strangles her. You're dealing with a fucking monster. You're dealing with a fucking monster, and they're trying to tell you that that monster is the person you need to literally pay for secular leadership classes from. I wish I was making this shit up. I wish I was making this shit up. This is that truth is stranger than fiction. I swear to you, y'all. This is that shit where you realize the atheist fucking space that you have found yourself in is literally no less culty than the hardcore religious groups that you tried to save yourself from. Oof, it'll blow your fucking mind. But this very community has known that this motherfucker did this and is still promoting, still telling you to pay for his secular leadership classes. Unbelievable.
This lasted several seconds, long enough for me to be unable to breathe or scream, and sharp pain started to stem from my throat. After I whacked and scratched at his arms for him to stop, I would later see the bruise and scrape on him from this reaction, he released me. His cock also made a very brief appearance, to which I will spare the details, but just to reiterate,
Please.
Nothing that occurred during this time was consensual, not even close.
Y'all hear that for all the victim blamers in the back? Everybody, ardent heart that was sliding through the Facebook. After what I saw, it was definitely her fault. Here comes student Dr. Ben. I agree. Normally, being a medical doctor, I think it's all sorts of fucked up when somebody gets their ass whooped by a grown-ass man, but not after the way she was throwing it at him. Yeah, fuck the line. Yeah, fuck the line. Yeah, fuck the line real hard.
If he actually thought this was some fun, fucked up act of sexual play, he was viciously mistaken. And I couldn't have been clearer in my orders for him to stop attacking. Lastly, as I rubbed my throat and caught my breath, he raced up to the top of the stairs and called down to me saying, "Are you my whore? Are you my fucking slut?" He then disappeared out the door.
Are you my whore? Are you my slut? Just absolutely vile and degrading.
It took several minutes before I could even register what had occurred. I had to ask myself, did that really just happen? I even tried to convince myself that he was just messing around and didn't mean to hurt me because I was too shocked to even admit to myself what had just happened. I slowly made my way up the stairs, leaving from the door Elliot had exited out of a moment ago. Once in the lobby, Stacy Gran of the Stacy's Mom podcast noticed me. We were on friendly terms and knew each other, having interacted online and in person before, so she was someone I trusted. She asked if I had fun, which confused me, but I would come to know later that people saw Elliot and I leave the building earlier and assumed we were going to hook up. With the plethora of open relationships and polyamorous people in this group, I guessed it was no surprise if married people engaged in that kind of activity. I, however, was not amongst them, and definitely did not ask for, consent to, nor encourage the attack against me. Stacy could tell immediately that something was very wrong. I was shaking while constantly glancing down the hallway in fear. I couldn't speak, so she asked if she could walk me back to my room, to which I still paused. Elliot came flying around the corner and glanced at us briefly with those same black eyes, still filled with rage. He looked even more angry and frustrated. I would find out later he was trying to locate his missing wallet and was somehow convinced someone had stolen it. Seeing his face again shocked me to my core, so I raced toward the elevator and Stacy followed. I didn't say a word until I broke down crying just outside my door. Stacy hugged me as I revealed everything that had just happened, adding the statement, "I thought he was my friend." I don't remember what she said to me, only that she was comforting at a time when I desperately needed someone. It was late into the night by this point. I entered my room in a daze and passed out within seconds. The next morning, I awoke to throbbing head and body pain. There wasn't anything that didn't hurt, and I was covered in dark bruises. Once my sister woke up, I told her everything and asked her advice. My sister...
Now, come on now. We're nowhere in the kink play sexual space. There's no way in which we go from you have not consensually engaged in any sort of sexual activity to you wake up the next morning and there's nothing that doesn't hurt. Anybody that tells you that is failed kink, you tell them, no, you are a failed human being. There's a bar of the bare minimum required to be considered humane treatment of other human beings. You have failed to meet that bar. This is not failed kink. This is you failing your humanity. That's what this is.
Has always been my fierce protector, especially when I didn't have the strength or courage to stand up for myself, which was often. I'm the type of person who avoids confrontation at all costs. And this situation
All right, be
an ugly
safe,
one.
PC.
I realized I was in a power dynamic that I never wanted to find myself.
Andrew, I think this is a very important point. I just don't understand treating someone like that, especially anyone who's opening up themselves to you. Like that's an honor and a thing, or respect, so you can treat the person thusly. Yeah, well, see, that's probably because you don't have a disordered personality. I think this is a seriously broken, monstrous person. And so I think the key phrase you put in here was that first part. I just don't understand. I don't either. We have to remember at all times that hopefully if you have just a little bit of that basic human empathy and you're not one of these, I don't know all the correct terms, but not one of these severely disordered type of people that will literally suspend this, because this isn't just lacking empathy. This is complete disregard for another person's autonomy, safety, and human rights. So yeah. Hopefully, I hope you're sincere, like me too. Like we don't understand. Like we literally don't get it.
Patty just listened as I got the entire story out. While not saying much, I knew this was killing her to hear. Soon after, I received a text message from Elliot asking if I was okay. Patty recommended that I not respond or start any dialogue with my abuser, but I didn't heed her advice. I wanted to resolve this and try to understand why it happened so I could hopefully put it behind me.
Now, this is part of why people need to understand the cops needed to be called. And, I have a lot of empathy and compassion for Patty herself and Stacy, and I know the people that were there with Stacy. I think her husband and her mother, in the sense of when you are interacting with the victim in real time, particularly a victim that you care about or love and have a relationship with, your priority is their safety and their comfort and all of that, and that is a very human thing, right? But we have to understand when these type of serious crimes are committed, the cops have to be called. And really, that's why I say this is a community level failure, because the way a community is supposed to respond to this is supposed to be like, okay, now we're getting the word of what happened. And then it's like, okay, Well, Patty, you're boom, you got your sister, you're taking care of her. Okay, Stacy and your crew, okay, y'all were the first people to find her. Y'all stay with them too. You know, that way if they need anything, y'all could kind of put the plans in motion and make sure they get what they need, right? And then make sure they have a little bit, you know what I'm saying? You got to let Patty stay there, be the support system for her sister, okay? And then your crew, y'all are going to be the support system for Patty and her sister, okay? And then the rest of us, we're going to take care of this. So y'all gonna call, okay, so you're gonna go call the cops, okay? You, where the big dudes at? All right, all the big dudes that let it be all alpha, whatever, y'all make sure he gets the fuck out of here immediately. Not now, don't let him go, but make sure he don't have access to nobody else, but make sure he stay here till they get here. You know what I'm saying to you? Got it. Cool. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all got, it's go time. It's go time. But what unsafe communities do? Unsafe communities say, no, nobody do anything. We don't know what happened. And, oh, we got to launch our own investigation. Oh, we got to get witness statements. Oh, we got to figure out what happened. Well, what does the victim want to do? Oh, we didn't think of that. What is the victim? We heard you the first time. All right, so now what does she want to do? And so now you put more pressure on the victim. And now the victim is in a traumatic response. In the traumatic response, the victim is just trying to get safe, trying to get themselves out of harm's way. And now there's all this social pressure on them. So they've already feeling like they've disrupted this whole situation everybody was here for. So now they're already feeling bad. So they don't want to be even more of a disruption. And they're physically in pain. They're shocked. They're embarrassed, right? They may have their own personal situations and things going on. So this is all lessons of how this thing plays out in real fucking life. That's why it's not the victim's decision. That's why every time a person said to you, well, we were just doing what the victim told us and it was up to her. And if she didn't press charges, then that's why nothing happened. And it's her fault. If she didn't do it, it was on her. Y'all, them people are unsafe. Dumb people, I hate to tell you, those people are showing you weaponized ignorance. They're showing you what it is like to be so vilely misinformed and uneducated about something that you are actually dangerous. And now you see why. Because by the time all of this happens, now all of that critical window in that time that's essential for law enforcement has been missed. Law enforcement needed to be called as soon as this happened, within hours of her being found, or as soon as she woke up the next morning. Like, as soon as people really figured out what happened, somebody needed to make sure, priority number one. And you're hearing this from a black man who has no love for law enforcement. You're hearing this from a black man who has no love for law enforcement. The very first thing y'all needed to do was call the cops. Call the cops, call an ambulance. Should have been a double ass call. You got one number, 911. We need police and an ambulance. See that? Did you see that? It's one. I grabbed the invisible phone. Look, see? Boom. You open it. You hit it. It's right there. You hit the phone. I'm not going to really punch the numbers, but we're going to see on the kid. 911, right? Boom. What's happened? I'm at the lodge in the state park. A woman was just violently assaulted. I need police and an ambulance. Where are you at? I told you I'm at the lodge in the state park for NANOCON 2025. Okay, we're sending people. Thank you. See that? That's what needed to happen. Now, then the right medical professionals are there on the scene. What if she had the type of injury that nobody could tell? What if she had a traumatic brain injury? Sometimes people die in their sleep because of that. Because they've had a major concussion or some kind of disruption to their brainstem or something. You know, it registers to them at the time as like a headache or something. They don't think it's a big deal. They go to sleep and they never wake up. Right? People have no idea how serious another person's internal injuries are in a situation like this. None. You have no idea. They could be life. I had a student the other week just pass out in class. It was one of the scariest things that ever happened to me. Nobody touched them. They were given a presentation. They just collapsed. Fell to the floor. Again, had to immediately call police. And the instructions they gave her were so very specific because of that exact thing. Because nobody knows the true extent of your internal injuries. And then at the same time, before all the social pressure gets to her, and most importantly, before he gets to her, before he can have all of his inappropriate contact with her for hours and months. The police are there to get that story when it's fresh. So that was a huge part of the community failure.
I texted Elliot back, telling him I wasn't okay, and asked if he even remembered anything from last night. He said barely, then said how sorry he was. This would be the first step in my slow decline into quick forgiveness of his actions and ultimately his absolution without punishment. I was actually embarrassed to admit what had occurred and wanted this to be resolved as soon as possible without anyone knowing besides Elliot, myself, Stacy, and my sister. Religious trauma had a hand in my decision, as I'm no stranger to sexual assault and have been in situations before where I was blamed for the actions of the man.
And that's another part of it. People keep acting like that's another reason why you can't leave it to the victims. Victims are often repeat victims. And when they're traumatized by a previous experience of not having justice, they anticipate another situation of not having justice. This is all the more reason why trauma-informed people or people who were just professionally trained by trauma-informed people, no, you don't leave those decisions to the victims. Something I share with my friends, I literally just went through a lot of my safety training. You know, as faculty, we have to go through hours and hours and hours of fucking safety training every year on everything from, you know, how to keep the campuses, you know, information technology secure to, you know, academic integrity policies and, you know, but a lot of it is, you know, the non-discrimination stuff and how to deal with relationship violence, how to keep children safe on campus, all that type of shit, right? And that's a key part of all of this. When you're dealing with, for instance, a minor being on campus, or you're dealing with a student who may be the victim of relationship violence and stuff like that, you have to tell students, like, sorry, I'm a mandatory reporter, I have to let people know. Or like, yeah, here are your options, but you don't leave, you cannot leave that decision up to the person. Like you just can't. You just have to say, like, no, you told me something very serious. I have to report this. You know, and here are some options you know what I'm saying, you could pursue, but yes, I have to report this to the proper authorities. Every time. It's just automatic. It's not even an option. So when we say these people don't know, like, we're not trying to be facetious or insult them. Like, they don't know what they're talking about and they're not safe.
I also still believed him to be a friend, especially after his apology, which softened my anger over what had happened. My hopes of dealing with this on my own didn't last long, as I next received a text from Stacy saying that what happened to me was criminal activity, and I needed to report it to authorities immediately.
That was smart.
I vehemently refused, not having any faith in our justice system from previous reports of mine that had never been properly dealt with.
And that's okay. That's like a learning experience. You know, I know for Stacy, that's a tough spot. And again, nobody gives us a handbook on these things. But yeah, when you find yourself in a situation like that for your friend, you just make the call. You just make the call. Don't put it on them.
At the very least, I just wanted this to stay within the atheist community, because at that time, I believed we were a family that supported each other. Whatever Elliot may have been going through to cause him to do this, I wanted to get to the bottom of it and try to help him. I now had a responsibility to ensure that this was only an isolated event.
Community is never a priority over crime. Okay? This is the response of a trauma victim and also somebody who is used to being in abusive power dynamics. That's another reason why you have to be extra safe and careful in the secular community, because you're dealing with so many people coming out of high control cults and religious groups. But that putting unity over accountability thing, that's very cult. That's cult 101, right? Oh, literally somebody just committed a felon against me. Oh, well, let's keep it in house, right? Because we're all a community and I don't want to split us up, right? I don't want to break up the happy family, right? You see what I'm saying? Y'all hear it now? That's an abuse victim's response, right? Tell people, putting unity over accountability, that is what cults do. And that is exactly what this atheist community has done, right? Not just to her, but then also to the whistleblowers. Oh, the whistleblowers are starting drama. The whistleblowers are being dramatic. The whistleblowers are being divisive. The whistleblowers are not allowing us to all get along. We just want to ignore this and play nice together, but the whistleblowers keep calling it out. The whistleblowers won't even allow us to have fun in our chats. They won't even be in the same chat as the flying monkeys. The whistleblowers are divisive. The whistleblowers are ruining the community. Right? That's cult behavior.
That he hadn't ever done anything like this prior, or ever would again. But I would be very wrong in my characterization of who he was. And it took time for all the pieces of who this man was to come together, and it was a long and painful road. Stacy went on to call me and say that she had contacted the security official of NANOCON, Elliot Cantor, to inform him of what happened. While I appreciated her efforts to protect me, this now made me very nervous. I didn't want the confrontation or stress of reliving the incident. As silly as that sounds, the Christian community had taught me to forgive those who hurt me at a level that was always unrealistic.
And see, now this is the other part that pisses me off about people not believing victims, because Nancy right now is giving this community so much more than they deserve. This is like a world-class PhD education. If I was talking to my students as an anthropology professor, I would be like, this is a PhD level graduate school exercise in relationship violence and sexual assault. Because you're literally hearing somebody's very candid expression of the very fine-grained details of their cognitive state as they're going through these different experiences. And it's just so enraging to appreciate how much it took for her to have the wherewithal to really share these details, and how much care it shows from her towards the community. Like, she's taking herself into this incredibly painful place to share this incredible level of rich detail so people will understand what she was going through, because she cares so much about this community that she really wants people to really, really know and understand what happened. Yet people will hear her story, read her story, and have already just been incredibly dismissive. People have told us that she's still lying, and other people have literally said that the letter is fake. So they could read these details, hear her trauma, read her trauma in her own words, and rather than taking away the PhD level lesson in victim response, tell them they just write it off as fake and call it a day. Again, this community does not deserve the education it's getting right now.
I still believed that if I simply forgave someone to whom I thought was genuinely apologetic, their wrongdoings would simply fade off. With Elliot, I was convinced we could get through this and return to being even stronger friends. Despite the horrors of what he did, I still cared for him and tried to see his humanity beyond his mistake.
And see, all of that too is cult indoctrination. That is why people who come out of high control religions are such easy targets and victims. And that includes myself, right? That's why I'm, very susceptible, for instance, to falling in love with fucking narcissists, because you come out of that high control group. And so you're conditioned to be responsive to love bombing. You're conditioned to place unity above accountability, right? And you're conditioned to not have proper boundaries and to not fight for and advocate for yourself, and to put others before yourself to the point where you are literally taking on a caretaker role for somebody who just almost killed you. And that comes from being raised in a cult and being taught to cast your cares on God or Jesus or Buddha or whoever, when you're supposed to be learning how to say no, how boundaries function, how to communicate your boundaries, how to cut people out of your life if they don't respect your boundaries, right? How to be you and claim your autonomy. And so here it is, this man almost fucking killed you, and you're worried about what you could do for him. Which is, again, we say that that's beautiful, that reflects a beautiful characteristic about her, but no, it doesn't. It reflects the brokenness of not getting proper emotional development because you were raised in a cult, and now your toxic empathy almost got you killed. And now has you, in Stockholm syndrome, where you're taking up for your oppressor and your assaulter, and you're in a community of unsafe people who at the same time are basically goading you into not holding him accountable and putting social pressure on you to resolve all of this. Because let's be clear, let's be 1,000% clear with everybody listening. When people started asking her what she wanted to do, and would she call the cops and what all of that, they're already letting you know whose side they're on. I'm gonna just keep it a whole way real with you, right? Because imagine I'm chilling and somebody assaults PC. I'm calling the cops. I already called the cops. The cops were called as soon as I saw what happened, assuming I couldn't physically intervene and stop it myself. They were already called. So as soon as you start asking the victim and talking to the victim about it, you're already hesitating to hold this person accountable. See that? That's how motherfuckers that are trauma informed know. As soon as you make them first moves, we already know you on the wrong side. We already know you're on the wrong team. We already know you're on the wrong team. You wouldn't be asking her. Why are you asking her? What do you mean? What does she want to do? What are you talking about? Did you hear what he did to her? Is that a goddamn felony? Oh, about 3-4 times over? Oh, so then what are we talking about here? So please understand that in addition to everything she's going through, she's literally experiencing the social pressure of all this group is now so uncomfortable about what happened, and it's going to go one of two ways. She could have leaned into the accountability and calling the cops and the law enforcement, and then it's going to get even probably more uncomfortable for a whole bunch of people, or we're going to have to really, really deal with what happened, or, it's going to really get out and it's about to be a whole incident because cop cars is going to show up and all of that, and it's about to really be a situation. But if we could get her to say she doesn't want to call the cops and, she wants them to work it out and she wants to talk and she forgives him and he's sorry, right? You see what I'm saying? So that lets everybody else off the hook. That's how I see this that's why I say this whole community is unsafe. Because as soon as I heard this story and I started to hear about all the ways that everybody else kind of subtly put the social pressure on her, and then I saw the ways in which nobody in the community really wanted to talk about what happened, and then every time somebody tried to talk about it, she was actually blamed, and it was like, oh, well, she didn't want to do it, or she didn't report it on time, well, she was almost charged and she's the liar, or she only did it because it was always her. It was always her. Like, she was responsible not just for what happened to her, but the response to the entire community. Everything that everybody else did wrong was her fault. Not once did anybody blame anything on him. Not once. It was all her fault, and it was all the whistleblower's fault. That's how I know this whole community is not safe.
I met with Mr. Cantor that Sunday morning, the last day of the conference.
Oh,
I wanted
perfect
to leave
timing,
the
I
lodge
guess.
immediately and get back to the airport, but my sister was a scheduled speaker, and her presentation was something important I didn't want to miss.
Yeah, facts equals.
So I feigned a brave face and acted as though nothing was wrong as I got ready and went down to the conference room to meet with Mr. Cantor. He and another woman took my statement, then asked how I wanted to proceed. I told them I wanted to deal with it on my own. Having spent 10 years serving in the Army, including work in military intelligence, I had vast knowledge from trainings in psychology, human behavior, and prison interrogation.
Okay, here's another thing. Expertise does not replace your humanity. It's funny, one of the stories that I heard about during the training I had to go through, and it's funny because I've worked at different institutions that use the same training module, so I've seen some of the stories like multiple times. This one lady who tells her story about being sexually harassed, she is literally the sexual harassment coordinator like at her institution. And so she uses that to tell a story like this happens to everybody. See what I'm saying? And so she literally says at the end of her thing, who sexually harasses the sexual harassment lady. And she just goes, I know, right? And it's crazy, but it teaches you a very powerful lesson. Just because somebody has expertise in something, or just because something is somebody's department, or even what somebody is responsible for, doesn't make them above being victims. You know what makes you above the risk of being victim? Being dead. As long as you are a human being that's alive, somebody could always bamboozle you and get the best of you. So just because you have training in psychology, or you're a therapist, or you're a counselor, or you've written books about relationship violence, doesn't mean that those same fucked up toxic interpersonal dynamics won't happen to you in your own life. So, education is elevation, and definitely education can definitely help people reduce their risk factors, but we're all still human at the end of the day. So it's just very insightful to know that this is happening to somebody who's, pretty well educated themselves, but is still human. And all you hear about her vulnerabilities through the story, right? That's all human, right? There's Nancy, the expertise. There's Nancy, the intelligent woman. There's Nancy, the scholar. There's Nancy and everything she knows intellectually, but there's the human side that just wants friends, just wants to be accepted, just is trying to have a good time with her sister, just wants her social media channel to grow so she can, have more fun and get more opportunities and make new friends and reach more people, just regular everyday social pressures that everybody's dealing with. And that trumps our safety, right? Because we're human and we're social creatures. And so we throw everything we know out the window when it comes to needing to belong. And again, that's myself included. Like, we're all human. Like, that's nothing that an education or being smart could make you rise above. Like, you're always going to need other people, so you're always vulnerable to toxic social dynamics.
While I never revealed this to them, I felt confident in my ability to get Elliot to trust me and reveal who he really was, so I could be sure he wasn't a danger to himself or society. This was an ignorant decision on my part, because this situation became larger than I could have imagined. Not only did I not register how serious this was, or what type of person he was, but I would actually tell people not to pull him from events or shows, at least until I could figure him out for myself.
You see that right there? And then that gets used against her. So you have to ask yourself, why are people talking to her? And then why are those people asking her about that? You see what I'm saying? So for those of you that are not, incapable of reading the room, I hope you realize what's happening and you're putting together some of the pieces, right? Like I told you at the start of this, we were targeted. So myself and, my group of friends, like the people I hang with, like, we didn't know anything about this. And so somebody came around, right? And then told us, and they told us the fucked up story. They told us that she was lying, right? So now you have this other piece where clearly people are going around talking about it. And then if you're reading between the lines, clearly people are trying to figure out how to proceed with him. They know from her exactly what happened. But like I said, as soon as people start asking the victim questions, as soon as people start inquiring as to how the victim thinks people should handle things, because again, people who know that's never the victim's decision. That already tells you they're on the wrong side. It already tells you they're trying to find a way out of holding this person accountable, and they want the victim to be the reason that they can do it. And that's exactly what she gave them. Because it's social pressure saying, hey, Nancy, we love you. We're here to support you. If you tell us not to have him on the shows, we're not going to have him on the shows because we're on your side, right? And then she can go, no, I don't want to harm the community. I don't want to be the reason he's not around anymore, right? That's more social pressure on her. So then she says, nah, it's good. Like, you could do shows with him, and then boom, is dead. Because now when the whistleblowers come along and the whistleblowers are like, yo, this shit is fucked up. Like, why are y'all still fucking with this motherfucker? Like, why are we still platforming him? Did y'all hear what he did to her? They feel all type of self-righteous, like, oh, well, she said we could still have him on. And she said she still wants him to be on shows. And so now they can successfully blame the victim for the reason why they're still platforming this person. And now they can blame the whistleblowers for starting the drama and division in the community, because they can present themselves as the keepers of inside information that was actually them advocating for what the victim wanted, when really it was them already wanting to do on behalf of the perpetrator, already taking up for the perpetrator, actually them putting social pressure on her, basically coercing her into saying that it's okay to platform him, and then they turn around and blame her for it. And that's why they're called flying monkeys. That is literally textbook flying monkey behavior. Trying to act as though you're there to support the victim, but you're really there to take up for the perpetrator, and then use the victim's words against the victim on behalf of the perpetrator. That it is literally classic flying monkey behavior. And then when the whistleblowers come along and they're like, Jay, I think all these people we were friends with are being flying monkeys. And we're like, yeah, they are. Let's call that out. People are like, oh, the whistleblowers are being divisive. They're calling us names. They're calling us names. No, we're accurately describing your behavior.
I didn't set out on a mission to destroy his life. I'm a strong person who felt sorry for him and of whatever caused him to do what he did. It was like he was dealing with inner demons, so to speak, and I was determined to find out the driving force behind his apparent pain and ruthlessness.
Now, see, there's another part of that too. Now, there's a few layers of the brokenness there. Obviously, again, she is like becoming his parent, right? She's taking up and trying to literally like love and care for him so that he can develop into a fully functional human being, not realizing he's a grown ass man who is, you know, more broken than she can handle. But also, you know, it's also allowing her to like, you know, seek his approval and correct this, right? Because that's a natural thing for a victim to feel like, is to feel like, I don't understand why this person did this for me, right? To me, right? So if I just care for them, if I just get to know them better, they believe two things are going to happen. Number one, I'm going to get to understand them better. And then I can find out something about them that either helps explain it or makes it like it's not my fault, or right. Because again, you're so devastated by this violence this person just did to you. And so if you feel like you're not, you know, in like immediate danger, then you're still trying to get answers. And part of the answers you're trying to get is, why would he do something like this? And why would he do something like this to me? So you feel like if you help him, you will get better answer to both of those questions. And then on top of that, you believe he'll now see you as somebody who's amazing and part of his support system, and he'll really love and care about you. And then he'll grow to genuinely feel sorry about what he did, and he'll recognize you as like this caring, loving part of his support system. And that will render the assault an unfortunate incident. It'll be like, oh, see, that only happened because, you know, he was a little drunk that night and things got a little out of hand. And then also we were still getting to know each other, so he didn't know me that well. Right. But now that I know him better, so I can help explain to myself why he would do this and why he would do this to me. Now him and I are also closer. So now the true relationship that we have, now that him and I really know each other, he would never do something like that to me. You see how that works? Again, that's why this is never their decision.
The same couldn't be said for Stacy, her fiancé Drew Beckius, and my sister. He was dead to them, and they started fighting hard to defend me and seek justice. This is something I should have been on board with from the start. Up to this point, 7 people knew about the incident, including Elliot and myself. I already felt that was too many, and I began to panic. I didn't want Elliot to know that I had spoken to an official about the incident, because then he wouldn't trust me enough to open up to me. Because again, I was trying to handle the situation on my own, and somehow believed I could. I'm a strong empath, and despite someone hurting me, I knew I could still forgive and move on. After the meeting, I entered the main conference room where Elliot was on stage speaking. He saw me right away and became visibly flustered. I didn't want to see or speak to him, but after his panel and during my sister's speech, he came up behind me and rubbed my shoulders, whispering in my ear again how sorry he was. I mumbled, "You should be." I was angry.
And again, this is another thing in an abusive dynamic like this, where all these people are telling us it didn't happen, she's lying, but also he's so sorry. And that's another thing the flying monkeys kept saying. He was so sorry, and he went to therapy, and he thought he might have hurt her severely, and he was so torn up about it. And then they'll flip it again, and it'll be, oh, actually, though, she's trying to ruin his life and she's trying to destroy his reputation. And actually, the police wanted to press charges against her. But then he's such an amazing, kind, forgiving guy. He told them not to press charges against her. So she's really lucky. You see that? Because that's flying monkey behavior. That's literally victim blaming, right? If one excuse don't work, we'll just find a different one. So when you start to see people triangulating, right? They're just going for any and every fucking story, and they shit ain't never consistent. That's how you know they're full of shit.
And uncomfortable, and he seemed taken aback by my reaction to him. He didn't seem to register
the
my
optics,
disdain, because he
wanted to quietly say, "I'm sorry," while everybody else sees them as a couple. And again, that's some psychotic shit right there. He knows he damn near killed this fucking woman, and he wants to just whisper in her ear, "Hey, I'm real sorry about that. Hey, look how happy we are together. Hey, that's some crazy shit. That's some crazy shit, right? Right? You got a boyfriend or girlfriend that acts like that, you already know you should have left. You got a boyfriend or girlfriend that acts like that, the best time to leave them was to never meet them in the first place, but the next best time is right the fuck now.
Next to me throughout the rest of Patty's presentation. I could feel all eyes on us, and I knew everyone was thinking we had sex the night prior. I think he knew this, and him sitting right next to me made it look consensual. Again, I slapped on a smile and pretended that nothing was wrong as not to arouse suspicion. I was still in shock and played as coolly as possible. Once my sister finished her presentation, we quickly got out of there.
You meant pageantry over principle. Nah, that's totally true. I thought, but when you said patentry, I was like, yo, that's a pretty good way to get at capitalism. Like, these motherfuckers is making this all about money. I was like, patentry over principle. That's a good one, Kyle. But pageantry, I got you. That works too, for real.
And on our flights back home. Traveling home, I had time to think about what to do next. I was still in both physical and emotional pain. I returned home to discover that my father-in-law in India was dying, and that my husband would have to take an emergency flight out the next day. I grappled with whether to tell my husband of what happened, but left it alone, as I didn't want to cause him the added stress of knowing a man assaulted his wife in his absence.
Now, again, like, that's real shit. Again, victims don't exist in vacuums. They have real lives and real complications. So she doesn't know what to do. Now she finds out her husband's father's, not well. He's got to go to another part of the world. Like, it's a lot going on. That's why I just hope that that's one thing people could take away from this shit, is seeing the real details of a victim's trauma response and understanding that if this ever happens to anybody you care about, you do not put more pressure on them by making them responsible for the legal, social, and organizational response. No, you let the people closest to them prioritize your care, and then you organize the rest of the troops to handle business for them. We're going to make sure somebody calls the cops. We're going to make sure somebody gets you hooked up with a lawyer so you can pursue your whatever legal ramifications, whatever rights you may have, whatever legal actions you might be able to take that we're not aware of, because none of us are really legal professionals like that. The community's gonna come together and make sure we get you a lawyer. The community's gonna come together and immediately make sure you get some medical treatment. The community's gonna come together and make sure these fucking organizations are gonna be held accountable for what happened. The community's going to come together and make sure nobody platforms him. The community's going to come together and make sure everybody knows he's unsafe. And we put other organizations and other events that he's involved with on notice that he is not safe and he is not to be allowed anywhere near their premises. The community's going to get together and make sure anybody that sponsored NANOCON either holds NANOCON accountable, removes their future support of NANOCON, or we're going to be boycotting those organizations too. This community did none of that. This community did none of that and just blamed the victim for the complete and total failure from top to bottom. And so it fell to the sister and a small group of whistleblowers who are all themselves also survivors. And then everybody just harassed and ostracized them, pretty much cut them out of the community and called it a day. And then continue to platform and actually elevate him. Let's keep it real. He's been elevated since then because, again, all the flying monkeys. That's why we went after the flying monkeys. We went after the flying monkeys because the same way she's letting y'all know, the response to these women, the response to these people, the community failure hurt even more than the initial assault. That's what we were picking up on. And we were seeing how the flying monkeys caused all of this. And so because the flying monkeys went around on the harassment campaign telling everybody Nancy and Patty are lying, don't believe them, the flying monkeys ruined her reputation. At the same time, when the whistleblowers came in, the flying monkeys went around telling everybody, cut off the whistleblowers, block them, delete them, deplatform them. Nobody deplatformed the assailant, but everybody deplatformed the whistleblowers. You ain't seen the whistleblowers on shit. You have not seen the whistleblowers on shit, including Patty. Why is that? Because they literally told us, sorry, we can't have you on our channel anymore. That's this community. Think about that, y'all. This community deplatformed every single whistleblower, but elevated the assailant. And they're going to sit around and talk about how they're so much better than churches. They're going to sit around and answer calls, and you're going to send them money so they can do call-in shows where they make fun of believers who are in cults. While their very fucking organizations deplatformed and censored every single whistleblower while elevating the perpetrator of the most violent crime that's been committed at any of these events. Make it make sense.
He ended up staying abroad for 3 weeks, and this left things open for me to handle this situation. Those next 3 weeks were a tailspin. The first people I reached out to for advice were John Gleason of Godless Engineer and his wife, KC.
Oh, there's G.
Within the community, it was them I knew best. My husband and I had even once stayed overnight at their home.
So she reaches out to Godless Engineer and KC, who have been throwing her under the bus nonstop. And literally her and her husband have stayed with them. So she's like, these are my friends. I've stayed at their home. Wrong. They threw you under the bus.
So I trusted their opinion on what I should do. I also hoped they knew Elliot better than I did and could give more insight into his character, since all I really knew of him was what I saw on YouTube. I sent a detailed email to them explaining the situation, and they had a phone meeting with him. They called me after to report that they believed he was genuinely sorry and took responsibility for his actions.
So she calls to Godless Engineer. I said John Gleason of Godless Engineer. Again, people was going crazy on me when I was putting these motherfuckers' pictures on the thumbnail saying these motherfuckers are the flying monkeys. But again, I showed y'all the receipts right then. And y'all didn't even know the half of it. I literally showed y'all receipts of John Gleason and his wife coming into Facebook threads, dog piling on Nancy, absolutely dog walking her. Turns out not only did they know, she went to them, they talked to him, and then they contacted her and said, yeah, you're right, it happened, and he's really, really sorry. And then they turned around, and when the word got out, all of a sudden they changed their story. They joined the team of the Flying Monkeys. They threw her under the fucking bus and never looked back. John Gleason is a fucking asshole. If any of you are still supporting Godless Engineer, I do not know what the fuck is wrong with you.
Which brought me much relief. They said that he requested to speak to me, and I agreed.
And then they're like, let me put you in touch with him. Again, these people are not trauma informed.
That night, Elliot called me, and we spoke for several hours.
And
He
there it
began
is.
as extremely remorseful.
So what they were really trying to do, y'all, what they were really trying to do is knowing good and goddamn well, knowing exactly what happened. They were literally trying to facilitate him patching it over. They're literally like, bro, don't worry, we got it, bro. She thinks we're on her side, bro. She thinks we're really here to like advocate for her, bro. She really trusts us. So we're gonna help you smooth it over. And again, why is that? Because they already don't want to don't want to stop platforming him. They already are not on her side. They have already decided they don't want to hold him accountable. And just like the last group of Flying Monkeys, they need her to be the fucking reason they can do it. So instead of being like, oh shit, it actually did happen, we're done with him, they're like, yeah, well, he's real sorry. Hey, he really wants to talk to you. You think it'd be okay if you guys chatted? Boom. And there you go. Then he could say how sorry he is, and then she could say she forgives him. And then once again, if anybody speaks up and says anything, they could say, no, they already worked it out. And she said it was all good, so we can elevate him. These people are flying monkeys. They took up for the perpetrator and coerced the victim so they could blame the victim for them elevating the perpetrator.
Even crying on the phone, softening my anger toward him further. I told him I had forgiven him, but asked him to promise me that he would never do anything like that to anyone again, and he did. We had a long discussion about why he may have done what he did. He stated that he was very drunk, overly tired, and hadn't eaten all day.
Funny how the motherfuckers who do some shit the rest of us would never fucking imagine ourselves doing under the influence of alcohol keep drinking. And how they're always too drunk to remember what happened or remember what they did, but they're never too drunk to be physically capable of fucking you all the way up. Funny how that works.
I wasn't convinced, as I knew he was in far worse shape than all that, but I accepted his answer. He did reveal several personal struggles to me that shall not be mentioned, as this was a private conversation, but I told him that I may be able to help. He mentioned financial struggles that stopped him from getting professional help, such as therapy. I offered...
The nigga that just sat up there and advertised Daryl Ray, and you just sat up there giving Daryl Ray the gluck, telling you how he's the head of Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project, and Daryl Ray is just the baddest thing going. The motherfucker trying to sell you secular leadership courses is the motherfucker himself, who's a fucking addict, ain't got his shit together, is trying to get the woman who he almost killed to fucking lick and nurse his wounds, and his motherfucking ass won't get his motherfucking ass in therapy. Ain't no motherfucker finna tell me who to call for therapy that ain't willing to go to therapy to when they shit is fucked up as this motherfucker is. And y'all gonna let this motherfucker sit up here and talk about secular leadership classes. This shit crazy.
Private conversation, but I told him that I may be able to help. He mentioned financial struggles that stopped him from getting professional help, such as therapy.
I'm sorry, but bro, I don't believe that, bro. You that close to Daryl Ray, and you can't say like, bro, I'm really dealing with some shit right now. Can I get some? Can we talk? Can we talk? What's going on, man? What's going on? I'm gonna just keep it $150 with y'all. I don't believe him. Elliot, is it that hard to sell drugs? Elliot, I'm asking you a real question, Elliot Martin. Is it that hard to sell drugs? I'm sorry. It's a lot with these psychopaths like him and fucking Trump, But these motherfuckers are always the biggest failures. Donald Trump's supposed to be the greatest deal maker in the business world, and the rest of us have to ask the obvious question. You mean the motherfucker that bankrupted the casino? Didn't your mother tell you not to spend all your money in the goddamn casino? Why? Because the house always wins. So you're in a business where the house always wins and you go bankrupt, and I'm supposed to believe you're some kind of good businessman. You run the Secular Leadership Project. You're teaching secular leadership. You're organizing fucking conferences. You're literally hosting shows with the man who created the Secular Therapy Project. And I'm supposed to believe it's so hard to sell drugs that you can't get no... Nah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I offered to help him, saying that he could call me whenever he needed to discuss something. I wanted to be part of his healing process and witness for myself that he was getting better. The conversation was honestly one of the best I'd had in a long time. We discussed anything and everything, laughed a lot, and were very open with each other. I felt as though our friendship was not only fixed, but had gotten better, as we both tried to move forward. For the next few days, we had some kind of interaction daily, either through texts or phone calls. I wanted to ensure he was checking in with me, so I kept the dialogue going by asking how his day was or sending pictures of something I was doing that day. And not one of these conversations were of a sexual nature.
Right, and see, there's that bond building, right? She's trying to build the bond because that can correct the story of their relationship. This is that fawning. PC mentioned it before. This is that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. This is fawn.
Though much of the interaction was great, one of the calls did cause me alarm. He was clearly on a substance, incoherent, and not really registering anything I was saying. I asked him about it, and he said he was just vaping, which I didn't believe. He was so messed up, he could barely speak aside from laughing strangely. I wasn't convinced he was in his right mind and assumed he had either taken hard drugs or was in a manic state, just as he was when he attacked me. This new insight would drive me to reach out to others for further advice and clarification. Over the next couple weeks, I had gotten full-body x-rays from my chiropractor at the VA and had my throat checked as I still had pain. Luckily, there was no bone breakage or permanent damage, though I held on to the paperwork for evidence should I need it. My doctor tried to convince me to go to the police about this incident, as she said the guy really did a number on me.
And that's crazy right there, too. That's a crazy detail for a medical person who's treating her much later is saying that dude did a number and you need to go to the cops. Even at that point. Because again, y'all, that's a professional's opinion. That's a person who, again, I know, because again, I know the training I have to go through to step on campus and get my paycheck as a faculty member, right? So now I'm imagining what is the default office fucking training when you're the goddamn medical doctor whose job it is to do the medical exam of people who are, right? You see what I'm saying? My job is to be in the classroom, recognize when somebody says something that sounds a bit off. Oh, no, you just, what you just said, that was a little bit off. Nah, I got to call on people. Now I'm imagining what it's like to be the medical doctor when they're about to walk into your medical exam room when they've been the victim of a violent crime. And the person with that training is like, yeah, you need to call the cops. This is all sorts of fucked up. But this community don't believe a word she has to say. It's fucking disgusting.
Responded that I was handling it. My sister Patty also reminded me to take pictures of all my bruises, which I did. I had to be more thorough, as I was starting to doubt that Elliot was the person he tried to portray. There were several more people in the atheist community that I reached out to during this time. Dialogues began that contained insight, opinions, some support, shock and horror, and anger. I felt obligated to warn women I felt close to at the time to ensure they kept their guard up around him.
Damn, and that's what Kyle was talking about, how none of the women believed her. But look how much Nancy is showing care for this community that is showing none for her. So she's like, I need to let these other women know what happened because I'm trying to keep the other women in this community safe. And those same women who she turns to so she can try to keep other women in the community safe, turn around, dogpile on her, throw her under the bus, and take up for him. Flying monkeys.
When tragedy occurs, it can often bring people closer. And these conversations did just that. My talks with Elliot soon started to fade off as I began to not trust him, and I steered more toward these other content creators for conversation and comfort. With my husband still in India, I began to open up about my sexual struggles with my husband and what may have led me to flirting with Elliot in the first place. These people included, namely, AJ of Ways to Human, Helen of Freethinker Fireside, Bree of Hivesci, and Seth of Ambushed Apostate. I got very close to all of them. Little did I know of Ambushed Place. These people included, what's been still in India, I began to open up about my sexual struggles with my husband and what may have led me to flirting with Elliot in the first place.
All right, so this is where a lot of them are talking about, oh, well, she's only telling her story. First, she was only saying this because she didn't want her husband to find out or whatever. And now she's only saying this because the husband knows. So now she's trying to save her marriage. That's where all that's coming from. But again, it's a perfectly reasonable trauma response. When the shit first pops off, you're trying to not cause a stir. You don't pursue legal things. You're not trying to cause division in the community. You're not trying to deplatform him. And you're also not trying to burden your husband with this very serious news while he goes and handles a tragedy in his family. He gets home. Eventually, he's like, look, something is wrong with you. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but you're not acting like yourself. What's up? So she breaks down, baby, this is what happened. So now he has to deal with that. I'm not even going to try to channel that husband energy. That's a very tough situation to find yourself in as a partner. He eventually gets his fucking head on straight, says, baby, what do you need? Let's try to handle this. So now she feels she can open up a little bit more because she's got a little bit more support at home. So she's like, let me try to do what I can do to at least keep the community safe. I know I'm going to talk to these women. And again, that gets used against her right off the jump.
These people included, namely, AJ of Ways to Human.
AJ of Ways to Human. Name number one. Literally flying monkey number one. AJ from Ways to Human. Again, and AJ been running around on all these networks. She's on Skeptic Haven. She's on the AX. She's on all these. Everybody's working with AJ. And all of a sudden, AJ wants to talk about conference safety, right? And AJ wanted to post all the pictures in the post of all the sexy time at NANOCON. Don't forget that layer of it too. Don't forget that these people didn't just throw the victim under the bus and then run around and tell the entire community she's a liar. They then decided to post all the sexually explicit content from NANOCON they could find so that you would know not to miss out on sexy time at NANOCON next year. As soon as the whistleblowers, guys, y'all got to go back and look at these channels for real. Because one of the things you'll notice is NANOCON happened, and ain't nobody really say a lot of whole shit about NANOCON. Everybody's kind of asking for it. People started to be like, yo, where's the footage from NANOCON? Wasn't y'all making a big deal about this NANOCON? Like, where'd all the footage and content from NANOCON go? Nobody has shit to say about NANOCON. Then all of a sudden, the whistleblowers started talking about y'all know SR threw Nancy down the stairs at NANOCON. Now all of a sudden we got pictures of Glenda stripping and fucking all sorts of motherfuckers, sexual comedy hour and Drew and Stacy and everybody's sexy bits and all of this shit. All sexy time at NANOCON. Disgusting.
Helen of Freethinker Fireside, Bree of Hivesci, and Seth of Ambushed Apostate. I got very close to all of them. Little did I know, all of them would soon turn around to tell lies about me to protect my abuser and betray my trust in the worst possible way. It didn't take long after my husband returned for him to sense something was wrong. I was more reserved, wasn't sleeping well, and was even speaking differently. I eventually broke down and told him everything.
Wait a second.
With my husband still in India, I began to open up about my sexual struggles with my husband and what may have led me to flirting with Elliot in the first place. These people included, namely, AJ of Ways to Human, Helen of Freethinker Fireside,
Helen on the list.
Bree of Hiveside.
Ooh, Bree of Hiveside. And again, that's who initiated with us. It was Bree who decided to drag her ass into our virtual office after never being around in God knows how long, just so she could tell us Nancy and Patty were lying and then dip.
And Seth of Ambushed Apostate.
Now, aren't you hearing throughout this letter a conspicuous cast of characters that we identified for y'all as the flying fucking monkeys, and then showed y'all 10 hours worth of receipts of all the fucking shit that the flying monkeys said and did to throw this woman under the bus? And then what the fuck did they say? They turned around and said we were speaking for her without her permission, and we didn't have the right to tell her story, and she didn't want anybody talking about this. Again, y'all, the exact plays out of the Flying Monkey playbook we've been showing y'all. Again, they're the reason she had to write this letter. Because after all of this is going on, now they're dropping sexy time at NANOCON, everybody's calling her a liar. And then when the whistleblowers start talking, they start saying that her sister and the whistleblowers were speaking against her wishes. So now that the same motherfuckers that threw her under the bus won't even listen to her sister or the whistleblowers, who, by the way, she's expressing gratitude for, she decides, I'm going to have to go write a letter myself, get it notarized, so nobody can say I didn't write this letter, and then send it to my sister so she can share it. The flying fucking monkeys we've been trying to tell y'all about are literally the reason this letter exists. And they're still fucking blaming her. Some calling her a liar. Others saying the letter is fake. When skepticism means brain rot.
I got very close to all of them. Little did I know, all of them would soon turn around to tell lies about me to protect my abuser and betray my trust in the worst possible way.
Tell lies about me to protect my abuser. Tell lies about me to protect my abuser. What is a flying monkey in psychology? In psychology, flying monkeys are people manipulated by a narcissist to harass, spy on, or badmouth a victim on the narcissist's behalf. Enlisted from the victim's friends or family, they act as proxies to inflict further abuse, often by spreading lies or engaging in smear campaigns to defend the narcissist and isolate the target. So we called the flying monkeys flying fucking monkeys. And here now you have it, the victim in her own words telling you that same cast of characters we were calling flying monkeys spread lies about her to defend her attacker. Yeah, I'd be like, Your Honor, I rest my motherfucking case.
It didn't take long after my husband returned for him to sense something was wrong. I was more reserved, wasn't sleeping well, and was even speaking differently. I eventually broke down and told him everything. After a very emotional few days, he convinced me that I absolutely needed to report this incident to the police. He knew I was someone who often got flirty when I drank, but he never could have anticipated a man he didn't even know brutally attacking his wife on one of the few occasions he wasn't around to protect me.
Yeah. And Kyle, this is again, Kyle, I appreciate you so much. And Kyle is really one of the very, very unsung heroes in this. Doesn't even really know most people in this community to be really fucking with y'all like that, to be honest with you. And community definitely doesn't deserve it. But, everybody on that team of whistleblowers and survivors has a very important role to play. And Kyle, none of this shit would have happened without Kyle. Kyle's been on it from the beginning to the end. Kyle was the first person to be like, nope. Kyle was the first person to be like, nope. None of this is adding up, not making sense. The stories are not adding up. This is not how people tell true stories. This is not how people tell true stories. My victim alarm is going off. And she has not wavered since. And that she was able to put up the bat signal. And there's a victim bat signal. Those that know. And that's what turned this tide around. So when we get to that point where we finally talk about the community response and we correct the record and we hold the people and the motherfucking flying monkeys accountable, we're gonna talk about how these goddamn whistleblowers were treated. Number one, the community's gonna take some accountability for that, and then we're gonna give them their motherfucking flowers.
I agreed, and we began filing an official report of the incident. Another revelation that cemented my decision to press charges was another victim of Elliot's who came out. All this time, Patty was working diligently with my consent to ensure her sister received justice, and that my abuser was stopped and held responsible for his actions. While I can't elaborate on the details as there are people I need to protect, I knew then that this wasn't an isolated event. It was a pattern.
Yep.
It was many days of writing statements, providing evidence, and waiting to hear back from authorities. The woman I was coordinating with assured me that I was doing the right thing, which brought me some relief as this whole ordeal made me uncomfortable. Unfortunately, this case fell completely flat. It was handed over to a male sheriff, then a judge, and became void. The only footage authorities were able to retrieve were from the lobby where Elliot and I were engaged in obvious flirtation.
Now, here's very key information. Number one, you see that she did actually try to press charges. Now, think about what I said to y'all earlier. Community level failure. That time may be the reason that case failed. Because the difference is now where presumably weeks later, all these other statements have been taken, all these other stories have come out, right? That is a critical loss of time. This is a whole different investigation if that call is made as soon as she's discovered that night. That is one of the things I do lose sleep over. That is one of the things I said to myself, I cannot get people to listen to what I say, but one thing I want motherfuckers to fucking hear me say is that time was fucking critical. And again, this is coming from one of the blackest motherfuckers you know, who takes no pleasure, no day ever of telling people they need to call the fucking cops. But when some shit like this happens, y'all, this is that shit none of us are qualified to deal with. You have to know when the situation is way above your pay grade and way outside your area of expertise. When it comes to what somebody threw somebody down the stairs and strangled them, yeah, this is not a problem Dr. Bundy can solve. I'm calling 911. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Now, if somebody calls that night, again, her wounds and her injuries are fresh. Her story is fresh. There's been no time for her to be manipulated, none of the back and forth. There's no opportunity for people to be telling these stories of, well, I think they're friends and I think they worked it out and she said he was safe and she said nothing should happen to him and she said everybody should platform him and she forgave him and all this bullshit. Well, she didn't want us to call the cops that night. She said she didn't want to. See? If as soon as she was discovered, that decision was taken from her, none of that is part of this story. That is a very different fucking investigation. Nevertheless, even with the loss of time, the female who's actually doing the investigation on behalf of whatever little law enforcement situation they got at the state park. Another question people need to be asking, why are atheist events being held at state parks? Where when something happens, if something were to happen, all of a sudden, it's not really the city local police that's taking care of things. Or it's not the state police or the sheriff's office, but all of a sudden it's park rangers doing this investigation. Okay, that's the serious question. You got to understand now, this has happened. This is real. This happened. So anybody who thinks that you're taking it too far, you're asking too many serious questions or what, are people supposed to have fucking babysitters after hours? Yeah, apparently y'all need babysitters after hours. What the fuck are you talking about? Again, this happened. This happened and none of y'all did shit. Apparently, y'all need some fucking babysitters after hours. Apparently, when atheists do a motherfucking event and women are going to be there, yeah, women. One of the questions I'd be asking if it was my daughter telling me, baby, remember, what did daddy tell you when you were 3 years old because the world is fucked up? You told me to ask about jurisdiction. Sorry, she'd be grown. She'd be like, you told me to ask about jurisdiction. But that's how she would say it when she like 3 or whatever, because she wouldn't even be able to pronounce that shit or spell that shit. But she would know that shit like she knows look both ways before you cross the road. She would know to ask about jurisdiction. Because my daddy told me, don't go nowhere where there ain't no real police. He said, don't take yourself. He said, look, you're black. Always be wary of police. Okay, the police are not your friends. They're not here to help you. But when yo shit is really in danger, baby, you call the cops first thing. You understand what I'm saying to you? And so you make sure you ain't never nowhere when you got to make that call, ain't nothing but some real police about to show up. So apparently, yes, atheists, you do need babysitters after dark. And number 2, we need to ask about the jurisdiction of where our events are being held.
No footage existed from the back stairwell where the attack occurred, thus no evidence. The sheriff added that there were too many inconsistencies in the story, and I replied with, not from my end. To say I was disparaged and distraught would be an understatement. Once again, the legal system failed to protect me, just as I had initially predicted.
But yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. So the woman that took up the case, she was telling her she did the right thing, and she seemed pretty sure something was gonna happen. So for anybody that wants to act like there was nothing there, or he was gonna press charges against her, and she was almost in trouble for filing a false report against him, bullshit. No, somebody took that case up, told her she was doing the right thing, believed that case was going to go forward, and was about as surprised as Nancy from what it sounds like when it didn't. Again, the motherfucker that investigated this shit, y'all, knew exactly what the fuck happened. And was like, yeah, this shit you needed to report this. Yeah, you did the right thing. This is going up the chain, right? It went up the chain. Okay, y'all. Now, we all got questions about what the fuck happened when it went up the chain, but everybody want to act like, oh, she was just bullshitting and there was nothing there and da-da-da-da-da, and they were going to go after her. Y'all so full of shit.
This was exactly why I tried to handle the situation myself from the beginning.
There
My
you go,
husband and I
Andrew.
tried to move on with our lives and forget this. We even removed every connection to the atheist community I had on every social media platform, so I could have some peace of mind.
Boycott NANOCON.
And I stopped recording on my channel with no plans to return.
Boom. And then this is the worst part. She loses her community. She loses her hobby. Again, he gets elevated. Whistleblowers get silenced, harassed, and deplatformed. She loses her channel and loses her community. And she's one half of the Apostate Sisters. Being a YouTuber is a real privilege. The shit is really fun. It's dope. It sucks at times. The platform is awful, and sometimes people can be shit. But it is a fun hobby and a great way to express yourself and learn and meet a lot of cool people. Do you know how special it is to actually have a YouTube channel that you host with your fucking sister? Do you know how rare it is in life and beautiful it is to even have a fucking sister? Do you know how many people have never had siblings, don't have siblings, or lost siblings, or can't get along with their siblings? You have sisters that don't just like each other, they love each other. They love each other so much, they're down to like literally host a fucking channel together where they can talk and help people deconstruct after leaving cults. And then she loses that because she got fucked up. Again, y'all, community level failure. When we started saying that, there was a reason, y'all. We were putting all this, we were working together as a team, as a group, to share information with each other, to put this shit together, to figure out what the fuck was going on. So when we called it a community level failure, it's because it was a community level failure. We saw the failure at every single level. Him being popular and being assaulting her and at a place, at a conference he's organizing, the conflict of interest with the organization, none of the sponsors doing anything about it. Nobody called the cops. They put all the decisions about accountability on her, and then put social pressure on her to not hold them accountable, and then blamed her when he wasn't held accountable, and then used her not wanting to hold him accountable as a shield against holding him accountable, and then elevated him, and then dogpiled on the whistleblowers, and then canceled and deplatformed all them, and then continued to fucking elevate him, and then she lost her fucking channel, and now everybody's calling her a fucking liar. Now they're shitting all over the reputation of her sister, making it hard for her to keep going without her sister. Now it's not even Apostate Sisters. Apostate Sisters, so Patty's losing out, and Patty ain't do shit wrong. And now all these other fucking organizations and big time influencers are coming, and they're dogpiling on her. So then now the line's gonna go live on New Year's, and then they're gonna make fun of her and laugh at it and call it all drama, and then add themselves to the roster so NANOCON could blow up even more, so that the events that he's organizing can continue to elevate him. Community level failure.
This didn't stop people from trying to reach out to me. I received an extremely disturbing text from AJ Ruley on my cell, to which I had never given her the number or permission to contact me on. She said unimaginable things such as, "I hope you're hurting," and how I was a horrible person for supporting Elliot before
AJ hits up the victim and says, "You're a horrible person. I hope you're hurting."
turning around and calling him a predator. She also insinuated that I had wanted to fuck Elliot that night and didn't get what I wanted, so I was trying to protect myself from my husband knowing. This was shocking, confusing, and I didn't know what she was talking about. Though one thing was clear, it was obvious that people in the community had started to turn on me and were quite literally supporting my abuser.
Yep.
This put me
Because of
into an
her.
immediate deep depression. Not only was I rejected and not believed by the very force that was supposed to protect me, not unusual, but the people bringing me comfort now spat hate in my direction.
Wow.
When I showed my husband the text, he responded to AJ directly and told her to leave his wife alone and that my sexual past and preferences had nothing to do with the criminal acts committed against me. Though I don't know what was said back, I know his phone was flooded with messages I had sent to all of the parties listed above.
And I'm going to just say this because it needs to be said. I think those people sabotaged the investigation. That's Yeah, because what happens typically, from what I know about these type of things, they get investigated, charging documents are filed, and then that leads the next level to go into their investigation. So when you have a officer who's leading an investigation file the charges, that means that officer is very confident there was a crime committed and there's enough evidence clearly to warrant prosecution. So they go up the ladder. Now, if it dies on the prosecutor's desk, that means the prosecutor started thinking about what is it going to take to make this the trial. So first off, I don't rule out straight up corrupt fucking foul play, corrupt weirdo behind the scenes shit happening. Definitely always a possibility. But setting that aside, I think even like sort of a good faith prosecutorial investigation, you start to, ask those questions. Who else was there? What did other people see? What organization was putting it together? What do they say? Right. And now that we know the cast of characters that you would get to, right? Especially knowing, again, he was one of the organizers, and look at all the ways that all of the organizations and the people involved had thrown her under the bus and not believed her. Come on now. What y'all think? I think that fucking those people hit them up and they all took up for Nancy. No, 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 no. They all took up for the flying monkey bullshit. They used all her words and behavior and everything that they saw that night and everything that they've heard or were part of since to throw her under the bus. So something fuck happened. We'll never fucking know. But yeah, I don't, whatever. Like, that's on me. That's nobody else's opinion but mine. But yeah, something fucked up happened. And I think that's another lesson from unsafe communities. Like, especially again, when you don't make that call right away. When you don't make that call right away, critical time is lost and the toxic social dynamics take over and all sorts of narratives and all sorts of accounts start to circulate and get out there, and it goes to shit. And it goes to shit because at the end of the day, trials are a very social thing. You have to be able to construct the narrative, and that narrative's got to survive jural scrutiny. And that's not to say you don't have it there. It's just to say that when there's too many fucking toxic twists and turns, that sometimes can really hurt the case. So I'm not trying to litigate that because I don't know what happened, but I want people to understand that you can't treat a legal outcome as indicative and determinative about what happened or didn't happen when you're not taking in consideration the way the social situation and the behavior of the people contributes to that outcome. You're not thinking realistically about the environment. When you're in a situation where the victim happens, something happens to a victim and nobody sees it, and then everybody else connected to the situation throws the victim under the bus, you can't take nothing happening legally and then further use that against the victim. You have to recognize the victim is in a situation, in a circumstance where it's already not favorable to justice happening. And in this case, the social circumstance, it made it even less likely justice was going to happen. And that again is a community failure. It's two things. Number one, it's a community failure. It's three things. Number one, it's a community failure. Number two, it's a community failure that influences the probability of justice. That's something, again, the community needs to sit with and think about what it means for this community, including myself, to take accountability for, one, the fact that we just denied this woman her reality. Number two, we rob her of her justice. And then number three, the community failure is that much more important because that's why communities have to step up. You have to understand that. And again, I hate to say this, but for a lot of y'all who, I hate to say it, you're just new to marginalization. Let's just keep it a buck. What we're seeing with the world right now, with the sort of awakening a lot of people are having, is like you're just new to marginalized reality. But the reality for marginalized people is the system was not built to protect us and help us. So we've always known, more times than not, the justice system is going to fail us. So when the justice system fails us, that doesn't mean that what we say our experiences didn't happen. It means the justice system always fails us. And so we've always had to count on communities to take accountability and to defend us and to show up for us. Because the justice system's not going to show up for us usually. That means it's that much more important that the community does. But this unsafe community, that logic gets flipped on its head. The community undermines your ability to get justice. And then the community uses the fact that you didn't get justice to also not offer you community support. And so you just get, again, community level failure from top to bottom.
It contained very private information, taken out of context,
There it is, Kyle.
as a way to get my husband to leave me. They actually told him I liked men to rape me.
They told her husband she likes men to rape her. I'm going to just let y'all sit with that.
I suddenly knew exactly where all this came from. I remembered telling Elliot during one of our calls that I help women on my channel through their sexual trauma by suggesting they read dark erotica books in the genre of consensual non-consent. I've found that reading this type of literature has helped me before when trying to reclaim my autonomy from a religion that taught me my body was not my own, though not something I had ever done in real life or would ever do outside of my own husband.
And again, thought crimes, right? There's supposed to be a community where you're deconstructing from cults, but she committed a thought crime. Her pornography, let's call it what it is, reading dark fucking, right? It's romance novels, it's porn, okay? She likes to read some fucking erotica because it helps her process some of her trauma. And when she gets fucked all the way up, people use her erotic preferences against her. It is so fucked up to have to be a woman in this fucked up ass society. It's supposed to be better over here on this side. It's no different at all over here on this side.
I made the connection and realized I had far underestimated just how low Elliot would go to protect himself. He convinced my friends that I was actually the one who wanted some weird sexual rape fantasy and that he was just giving me what I wanted that night. It was beyond gross to hear. My
And
depression.
see, that's where he comes in, because we got to now figure out where that story came in. And from the beginning, motherfuckers have needed to call Elliot Martin to the floor and either say, bro, you got to get the fuck up out of here, or you're going to have to address all of this. But the reason it has to be addressed now is because, again, the community level response has fucked this woman all the way up. And if he's going to continue to be out here in these streets, we need to know what the fuck his role in all of this has been. But if you feel like I feel, you know, his role in the initial incident is that he's the one who threw her down the stairs and choked her. And if that's not enough reason for y'all to start platforming him and to stop going to his events and to boycott these organizations, again, I don't want to be in community with none of you anyway. Please understand that. Everybody that's whining and crying about drama and division, I tell y'all this about the politics shit on this channel all the time. Niggas do not die of division. I be joking with PC, right? PC tell him, I be like, PC, division must be a motherfucking secret epidemic of white people. It must literally be a disease of privilege. I hear white people bitching all the time, division, everything's so divisive. Niggas do not die of division. We die of hypertension, blood pressure, cancer, and bullets from police, and white rage. That's what niggas die of. Division does not kill us. I do not want to be friends with people who are like, oh, he threw her down the stairs and choked her? Yeah. Well, are you going to take his secular leadership class? Nah, we're not homies. Once I hear that, I'm out. I'm good. Nope. I don't want fuck to do with none of them people.
Obviously got worse, and I started having suicidal thoughts. I never imagined something like this as a whole could ever happen to me. My husband blocked all the texts he was receiving from people he didn't know and kept me out of the loop of the
There it
disgusting
is, Trees.
accusations and things.
Trees, we appreciate you, man. The victim, the very brave, beautiful, and incredibly just brilliant. Like, speaking of intelligent, like to have this type of perspective and candor and eloquence, um, explaining something like this happening to you, that should tell you everything about what this community lost as a result of all this. What a true uh, how truly fortunate we are to know Nancy, but also these whistleblowers, Trees. There's just not been enough support. So I really appreciate you, because I have just felt like, where are all these alpha mans? There's all the dudes in this community, man. When they start talking that counter apologetics and politics and all that, but they love to beat their chests about what type of brave alpha mans and protectors, and they're so real and all that type of shit. But I heard nothing from none of them. So appreciate you, brother.
Things they were saying about me as to not traumatize me further. But it didn't help. I wanted to die. When you don't have any faith in a god or deities, and then even your faith in humans is destroyed, what's left? I lost my channel, my trust in people, and I wasn't even close with my family aside from my sister. Even my husband was shocked at some of the things these people were sending, as much of it was either blatant lies or messages I had sent privately and used to create an elaborate story that somehow made me the villain.
Wow.
Seth of Ambushed
sad.
Apostate even concocted a fallacious story that I tried to engage in a sexual relationship with him, and that he wanted me to leave my husband for him.
He ain't the only one. A whole bunch of people have concocted, speaking of dark erotica, these people have literally been writing Nancy fan fiction. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, again, they have gone through every fucking textbook victim blaming tactic in the book, somehow put their creative little gremlin minds together and concocted some motherfucking new shit. Like, it's a goddamn artist workshop up in this bitch. It is literally like Nancy fan fiction erotica. I'm telling y'all, it's fucking crazy. Like, it's like they pass that shit around between themselves. It's fucking gross.
It would be almost laughable if it wasn't so harmful and infuriating that someone would go to such lengths to protect a man who beats the shit out of women. Bree of Hivesai even said she was somehow my dom in a BDSM situation.
There it is. That claim, Bree saying that she's her dom in a BDSM relationship, and Nancy's like, more fan fiction. I don't know what the fuck Comic-Con bullshit y'all are on.
And she took those same private messages of mine out of context to try and back it up.
Unbelievable.
Even as a writer, I couldn't make this up if I tried.
Even after the fucking letter came out, Bree's still saying she thinks she's in love with her. Like, Bree, please get help. Please. But, like, come on, I'm not gonna let you just slander Nancy like that. These motherfuckers, Nancy doesn't talk to these people, and they're like, did you know she's in love with me? When was the last time you talked to her? Well, we haven't talked in months, but she's been sending me subliminal messages through the stars. Oh, okay, cool. Number one, you're in a cult. Number two, you're not in a relationship. Please get some help.
Whether these people believed Elliot was telling the truth or not, one thing is certain. He got them to fight in this defense.
Sure did.
My health declined rapidly.
Flying monkeys.
At one point, I even fainted, my own husband finding me crumpled on the bathroom floor, and I became bedridden for 2 months. My appetite vanished. I had excruciating stomach pains, and I lost an unhealthy amount of weight.
Again, more L's for her. Again, because trauma is real, it becomes embodied, y'all. Again, that's what I teach my students, the social determinants of health: race, class, and gender. There are other social determinants of health. Those are the three I teach about. Again, race, class, gender. Race, white supremacy. Class, capitalism. Gender, patriarchy. A class about the social determinants of health, race, class, and gender It's about how patriarchy, white supremacy, and capitalism gets people killed. I'm a motherfucking scientist. I don't get to just say that shit. I have to teach people how that shit works. How it works is the social bullshit that marginalized groups experience becomes embodied. It's your lived experience. So as Kyle and other trauma-informed people will tell you, the body keeps the score. And so that becomes ingrained into your central nervous system, and it ultimately affects your actual physical health. First off, mental and physical health are connected. Your brain's part of your body. Silly. And then it forms a vicious feedback loop. And it literally takes years off your life. So here's a person experiencing the social determinants of health. The way just being a woman, having to deal with the perpetual risk of sexual violence, and then the reality of it happening to her again, and not getting justice again, and then thinking she has a supportive community to go to grieve, and to, maybe a place where at least her hobby and her being in this community could help her cope and deal. Nope, that community turns on her. Now she loses her hobby. Now she loses her community. Boom. Physical health deteriorating. Mental health constantly getting worse. Vicious downward cycle. Social determinants of health right there. That's literally how gender-based violence that literally almost killed her is now, it almost killed her the fast way. Now it's almost killing her the slow way. That's why the community response is so critical.
I felt alone, betrayed, scared, disgusted, and hopeless. The realization hit me like a truck. The stage of victim blaming had begun. It was slut-shaming in its most obvious form.
Yep.
Before, it was my sister they were attacking for defending me. Now, it was me. It was a complete force of character destruction. If everyone saw me as the initiator to the incident, it would clear Elliot's name. And Elliot had been far too important to the atheist community, with too many supporters in his defense.
Far too important. Too many people speaking up in his defense. His reputation's too good. He gets too many clicks and likes. Too many super chats.
Regardless of facts.
So that's why every time you continue to watch the organizations, continue to support the channels, continue to go to their events, you are part of the problem as well, right? Community level failure. That's why from the beginning, we have been saying boycott NANOCON. And people are asking like, we're just trying to be divisive. We're just trying to ruin the community. No, we're trying to keep the community safe by saying when you don't keep the community safe, there will be consequences. If the legal system is going to fail us, then we have to step up as a community and say, we're going straight for your pockets. We're going straight for your business model. If you're going to organize unsafe event, we are going to let people know your event is on the do not attend, do not financially support list. You are on the no-fly, you're in the no-fly zone. Again, that's accountability. That's responsibility. That's fighting for safety. And again, the whistleblowers that are fighting for safety were ostracized and deplatformed while the perpetrator of the crime was elevated.
Even Ember, of Better Than Ember, someone I loved like family, started to say the sisters were lying, which broke my heart. While I was sick, there was
Ember, a perpetual victim herself, just piling on all these people. And look, don't sit up here and tell me shit. I would have told you before all this shit happened that I loved all these people. Seth from Ambush Apostate, I don't really know him from Adam, but Bree and Ember, and my Ember was one of the people I stayed with when I was in Kentucky. And Purple, like all them people, like AJ, I don't really know AJ. But we lost a lot of friends in this. These were people we would have told you we loved. So we learned a lot that a lot of the people I thought was friends and thought were people I really knew and was in community with are not the type of people I ever want to speak to again.
much more destruction happening behind the scenes. People and networks banded together
Yeah,
and created
PC. A
false
lot of
narratives.
people been lying about
No
a lot
one
of
reached
us,
out to me to verify the things being claimed. In
especially
organizations
PC.
and board meetings, I was reduced to person A, as though I were some underage, fragile victim who
Person
couldn't handle
A,
discussing what
damn.
had happened to me, instead of revealing me as I truly am. A highly educated, confident, and successful woman in her 40s who's been through this many times before, without ever finding solace.
That feels like a Titan Uranus move to me. Person A. I don't know. I don't know. That felt like a Titan move to me. I really don't know how their inner workings work, but Titan Uranus is definitely one of the damn flying monkeys too. I will say something I know is the Titan Uranus thing. Titan has repeatedly tried to have conversations that come up about Nancy in different social media spaces and discords actually be deleted. Titan is the type of guy when uncomfortable information ruins a fucking chat history. That motherfucker. When you want to talk about the type of social instincts in toxic communities where people want to rewrite history and pretend things didn't happen, you talking about a motherfucker who will see some shit dropped in the group chat and be like, we should delete everything that's happened since this person said this thing we don't like. Yo, I don't know why people fuck with him. Fuck you, Titan.
Injustice. People I've never spoken to chose to communicate through third parties in the form of train wrecks like AJ of Ways to Human. Someone who was never directly involved, yet secretly inserted herself as Elliot's researcher and defender while viciously betraying my trust. It was absolutely disgusting. The final nail in the coffin came months later, when my sister called to warn me that Elliot was telling people he had hired an attorney to go after me for defamation of his character. Yes, you read that correctly. My abuser was trying to go after his victim for telling people what he did and standing up for herself, as she should have. The final nail in the coffin came months later, when my sister called to warn me that Elliot was telling people he had hired an attorney to go after me for defamation of his character.
Now, see, that's why that's what happens when a motherfucker is not getting held accountable. The bad behavior escalates. His bullshit started getting good to him, y'all, and that's what happened. They just keep ramping it up, right? Because it's like something I'm gonna be doing with my students, where I actually, in my class, I strategically use falsehood, right? For instance, I give my students an audio editing assignment called Misinformation Station. It's actually a really fun assignment. But basically, they're supposed to take like at least 2 different interviews, right? And edit them together into a story that is not at all about what either of the original interviews was about, right? And it's really just a creative way for them to learn audio editing skills. But it also has the effect of teaching them how easy it is to make misinformation, right? And then it's fun because we share our stories, and a lot of them, you know, they get creative and have a good time with it. One of my students did this thing where they were fucking pretending to interview Kanye. And then they would just like splice in crazy shit Kanye said in interviews. And they would, after they asked him, yo, shit was epic. Right? But it's like good for me as an instructor. I know that sounds weird as a scientist, but you want people to be able to inhabit falsehood, right? So they can learn, one, how easy it is for people to be sitting on some bullshit, and then like how you distinguish between the two. So the point I'm making to y'all is once people start constructing falsehoods and other people buy into those falsehoods, they have to keep constructing more falsehoods to keep everything else consistent, right? It's like when you tell the one lie, now you got to tell a whole bunch of other lies, and you just hope you're keeping track of them, right? But that's basically what happens. And it shows you again, when somebody's not held accountable, it gets even worse for the victim because the falsehoods are going to spiral. And so now he's feeling himself, and then that fed into more people really feeling big and bold, like, oh yeah, he was going after her. She must have really been fucking lying, right? It just made it so much worse. But again, y'all see the real shit now. Ain't nobody go after her. And where are these motherfuckers talking? And oh my God, AJ, yeah.
Yes, you read that correctly. My abuser was trying to go after his victim for telling people what he did and standing up for herself, as she should have. Patty also said that he claimed to have footage from the back stairwell, which I knew conflicted with the story the police gave me.
Yeah, a bunch of people also lied. A bunch of people were saying there's video evidence that it didn't happen. And we showed you guys some of those texts where people were saying that there's video evidence that it didn't happen. But now you hear it from her, the information that we had, which is that, and the victim would have the most information, was that there was only footage of the lobby, and she admitted that she was flirting with him in the lobby, and it looked like they were, into each other or whatever. And so everybody who said there was video evidence that it didn't happen was full of shit.
Weren't any cameras back there. Another blatant lie.
Created by Elliot.
I also knew he would never hire an attorney because he knows I'm telling the truth.
And the nigga told us he can't afford therapy. Bruh, man, apparently it's so hard to sell drugs. My man cannot get a therapy session. But apparently it's also so hard to sell drugs that apparently somebody, falsely accuses him of a sexual assault and he can't afford to hire an attorney to go after her. There's no way he was going to be doing that.
A camera from the stairwell would have been fantastic to have, because it would have showed I've been the one telling the truth this whole time. He tried to say we both fell down the stairs. And while I initially gave him benefit of doubt, I remember everything, and we did not fall. He pushed me, then he fell. This news was it for me. I was completely and utterly done with this. I type this letter now as my final testament to the atheist community. While I've remained offline and in the shadows to try to pull my life back together after shutting down from the trauma, I'm coming back this one last time to say that my sister and I will not be silenced. While the community and our law enforcement have failed me, no one has destroyed me. I reach out to you as the reader, who now knows the entire scope of what really occurred. What do you plan to do? Do you plan to remain complicit in protecting someone who harms and manipulates? Is it more important to you that we protect those who are vulnerable or protect ratings? For a community that takes pride in seeking truth, it has failed to do so. And the resulting drama, backstabbing, and juvenile behaviors I've witnessed from afar have quite literally shattered my belief that humans can actually protect each other. For everyone seems to have an ulterior motive. People with power and influence know they can get away with their actions. And Elliot Martin definitely has power and influence. I revoke my forgiveness of him, and with it am taking back my honor, which he tried to steal from me.
Yes. We will not have any talks of forgiveness. Again, because not because she's not a graceful person, but because forgiveness gets people killed. And this is why. Because that she recognizes that her impulsive need to forgive him, to coax and soothe other people, is what was weaponized against her and used to make people not believe her. And then them same people that she thought were her friends, she now realizes they never cared about me. The only reason they were, and now you can see it, right? Now you can see the whole thing play out, where now you realize, like I said to you, remember when I told y'all that as soon as they start coming to the victim and they're asking the victim questions about how to handle this, they're already wrong. Because again, I recognize that the only part of you that does that is the part of you that does not want to act in a way to hold the perpetrator accountable. And so now you see it come full circle, because they came to her looking like they wanted her support, when that meant she was cool saying, don't do nothing, I forgive him, don't deplatform him, it's all good. They could use that against her. It was all love. Then when she was like, no, this happened, like, y'all, I told y'all what happened, like, I don't like, I'm actually trying to press charges. Like, that was really serious. Like, I'm realizing that, like, I actually want him to be held accountable for this. Now, all of a sudden, them same people throwing her right under the bus. So she realizes, oh shit, y'all wasn't supporting me from the beginning. Y'all were just trying to cover for him. And that's what's fucked up when a community lets that go down. Because we're supposed to be vigilant on each other's behalf enough to see the toxic dynamics. And here's another thing that y'all need to sit with. And again, when I tell people I don't want y'all to do shit, I need y'all to sit with it. I'm not saying that the ultimate response is to do nothing. Don't mishear me. I need us to do more, and I need us to not rest until we've done all that we can do. But the first thing I need people to do is to be committed and on to the motherfucking mission. And what happens is when you find out devastating news, you go into impulse mode. What happens is your trauma system gets kicked in, your response is kicked in, your nervous system peaks up. And so that need to want to do something right away is really your nervous system's way of saying, right now things are out of control, and I need you to regain some sort of sense of control. But then what happens when that happens is you act out of your rage, you act out of your anger, you act out of your need to do something immediately, and then you do something that makes you feel emotionally satiated, but doesn't really help us move towards where we're trying to go. So when I tell people I need you to sit with it and reflect, I'm not discouraging you from action. I'm trying to get you to resist that immediate need to regain control and comfort, because that only involves one level of activation. I need you to sit and reflect so you can think through the trauma of all the layers of community failure that we've been living with and dealing with for months, as we have it to do every day, right? And we still have to go about our fucking day-to-day lives. And we still have to try to figure out what the fuck to do. So sitting with it is how you understand the magnitude of what the fuck you are up against. Then you get serious, like, oh shit, I've given myself time to process and think through all the layers. Now I'm realizing, yeah, this whole fucking community is rotted. We failed this young lady from the top to the bottom at every level. Yeah, the regular friendly letters and the little, we're going to drop some little sly comments back and forth in the YouTube comments. Nah. This is way, way, way past all of that. So that's why I'm telling people, yeah, exactly, PC. This is a very serious situation. This is not a drill. So we need to sit with what happened and give yourself some time to really appreciate the gravity of this situation. I put the link to Patty's video in the stream. Maybe go over there and give yourself a good rewatch and give yourself a time to just, go through it on your own, just hearing, straight through Patty without my commentary, and just sit with it for a little bit. And then, yeah, come get with us and let's talk about how to handle this. And definitely, you already know, boycott NANOCON 2026. That's not the plan. That's the basics. That's the bare minimum. That's not the plan or the vision. That's just obviously that needs to happen.
I do not wish to be contacted by anyone within the community, as this chapter of my life is long closed. I can no longer help others because it's clear people don't want my help. I'm not seeking apologies or requests for clarification. Also, I want to be clear that I'm not out to destroy Elliot's life like he did mine. I'm better than that. For anyone who actually wants to make a difference so people can feel safe, here is my advice. 1. Suspend Elliot Martin from platforming within the organization and/or channel you represent. I believe him to be a danger to others in that he is not interested in improving his destructive behavior. His private admissions of what he did are not going to change him.
Private admissions of what he did. Elliot, what's up then? See what I'm saying? So you got all these organizations that know what happened. You got people that have spoken to him, and they know he did it, and they're still elevating him. Y'all, that's what I'm saying. This is community level failure. Heads have to roll. I'm sorry. That's what we say in the streets. Heads have to roll. That's not a call for violence or personal harassment. When we say heads have to roll, we mean leadership has to be held accountable. Organizations have to be held accountable. We have to organize. We have to move. We have to have demands. We have to say no. As long as he's still here, no. Nobody's doing any business with y'all while he's still here. Oh, is he still in charge of that organization? No. Is Darrell Ray? Dr. Darrell Ray? Is that the Dr. Darrell Ray organization? Oh no, we don't. No. No. Right? That's what I'm saying, y'all. That's why you got to sit with it. You got to sit with it because you got to start to think through all the layers of all these people who knew, who were told, who Patty personally reached out to and wrote letters. Go back through the streams we did. We made a playlist. Y'all know I don't do that shit. I don't give a fuck about this YouTube shit. I got a real job. But I do. We made a playlist about this shit. Probably like 10 hours of content. It's a lot of receipts in there. You'll see. Why did we do that? We didn't do that to start drama. We did that to document the community level failure.
He's gotten away with sexual assault, then further attacked his victim's character with lies to protect his own reputation. While I am not afraid of him, there are others that are, and I feel a duty to protect those people. He's done enough for the community that it should help him find the appropriate therapy he needs. And I can assure you, after what I've endured, and from speaking with him at length, he needs it.
He needs help.
Whether he meant to hurt me or not is irrelevant. He cannot do this again, and I fear that if he doesn't get help, it will happen again, whether he wants to or not. 2. Get involved in the fight for justice, not for myself, but for anyone else within the community that may have been harmed by someone. Since I will no longer be in communication, my sister Patty is the one to reach out to. The trauma she's endured by watching her sister deteriorate is staggering, and she has remained the only person actively trying to ensure something like this never happens again. And people have ripped her apart for it and called her a liar. I want to see to it that this discontinues, for she has been the only one strong enough and with enough ethics to stand up for accountability. She is telling the truth and has my permission to do so. Lastly, I want to thank all those who continue to seek out the truth. You know who you are, and know that you are a champion for humanity. The atheist community has steered far from being truth seekers and have gravitated toward playing favoritism and not holding its members responsible.
The atheist community has steered far from being truth seekers and have gravitated towards playing favoritism and not holding its members responsible. Again, so many brilliant words.
It's become a web of attention-seeking cowards who hide behind computer screens with no life to speak of outside of it. Now is the time to change that, and I hope that it does. I wish everyone well, and hope you'll connect with my sister in the battle to continue fighting for truth and justice. Because we have to do it ourselves. We're all we have. Thank you, and please take care. Nancy Vishwanathan, a former apostate sister.
Now, for those of you that are listening and not watching, it is signed, it is dated February 25th, 2026. It is also notarized from the state of Illinois. And there's, also dated. There's a seal on it from the notary public, again, indicating the state of Illinois. And, that's what we have. And that is, again, more information than even I'm comfortable with a victim of something like this having to even put out there about themselves. And again, like, I want to remind people that this is a tragedy. That as much as I want to celebrate and appreciate, you know, Nancy's bravery and you know, endurance, it's just like, why is this what it takes? Like, is this y'all, is this really it? Is this who we are? Like, for real, is this who we are? You gotta go give a whole ass notarized statement for us to believe you? Is that the world we want to live in? And then you got to tell us everything, and I mean everything. But again, y'all, while the perpetrator continued to be elevated, the victim lost her community, her channel, her hobby with her sister. Her health deteriorated. Her mental health continued to deteriorate. Her friends betrayed her, threw her under the bus, took up for her assailant. Her sister was harassed and deplatformed and ostracized. The whistleblowers were ostracized and deplatformed. And so she felt the need to write a notarized letter directly, more or less, to the YouTube atheist community. That's something no church can ever own. That's something no political party, no weird religion, nobody can ever own that. That was written to the atheist YouTube community from one of its most beloved content creators. Again, no religion, no political party, no none of that can ever own that. That was written and directed to the YouTube atheist community, who now itself has quite a history and pattern of these type of events, these type of incidents happening at its events. This is not the first time. This is the worst time. Yeah, that just flowed out right now. This is not the first time. This is the worst time. And I sincerely mean both of those things. That means another thing the atheist YouTube community has to sit with is the same way these same people get in there and do them call-in shows. Oh, are you still a Christian? Are you still ducking and dodging when your pastor abuses the women or the children, and then y'all be making excuses for him? Aren't you some sort of silly fool clique? The atheist community now has its own pattern that we can see by not holding people accountable for this behavior. They not only does the shit keep happening, the shit gets worse. And another thing motherfuckers need to think about is what would happen to almost any other woman at almost any other atheist YouTube conference who does not have the distinct benefit of being there with their sister. Imagine if this was a woman who just went to that conference by herself, or was just there and decided to room with, one of these, people they had been, talking to on the Discord server or whatever, and didn't really know that well. Imagine if this happened to somebody who didn't have a channel, who rather than being kind of a known entity, kind of at least the content creator, somewhat of an influencer in the space, was just, somebody from one of our chats or a regular subscriber who just happened to be there to show love to one of the organizations. Now this happens to them. Nobody even knows who they are. All right, y'all, that's what we got. I do want to thank Nancy. Like I said, Nancy, this community doesn't deserve that, doesn't deserve this. But, and again, like y'all saw, good for her. She's not part of this community anymore. But damn, she left us with, again, PhD level education tonight. This is one of them you're gonna learn today type of situations. So thank you so much to her for doing this. Like, again, that's just incredibly brave. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. It is utterly fucking embarrassing that this is what it takes for people to believe this woman. And how many people will still not believe this woman? Fucked up shit is I literally already know this shit didn't work. I know I'm just hoping there's a lot of people who fucking snap out of it now. But unfortunately, I already know there's some people who have just already doubled down. But for the rest of y'all, wake up. Wakey, wakey. Wakey, wakey. This happened. This happened. Time to boycott NANOCON. All right, y'all. So look, like I said, we all need to sit with this, myself included. Damn. See this? I'm going to speak on privilege. I'm going to make sure I spend a few minutes tonight before I go to bed really just giving Nancy my undivided attention for a few minutes. And really having to do what I do every day of my life at this point, which is try myself to live with what happened to my friend. And I don't know what else to do. I'm a scholar, so in a sick, perverse sense, I feel lucky because I'm an anthropologist and I teach human biology, and I teach about, like I said, the social determinants of health, and I teach about evolution, and I teach a class called Sex and Evolution. So I take that pain and I teach. I share with my students. I talk to my students about what happened and all the fucked up shit that's happened since, because I want them to understand what it looks like in real life. And yes, I tell them this happened to my friend at an atheist conference. And it pains me to have to admit that the same type of bullshit we always talking about happening in churches happens at atheist conferences too. But that's a good lesson for him. That's the reality. And it hurts to have to admit that I'm friends with these people. But again, I tell them the truth because Uncle Bobby always says, everybody knows a rape victim. Nobody knows the perpetrator. I tell them I know the person, I know the victim, and I know the person who did it. And I was friends with both of them. So we got to own this one. So let's sit with it. Let's reflect. Let's really give Nancy your undivided attention. Don't even count this shit, y'all. Don't even count this. This stream don't count. Go home, go get in your bed, go find your quietest, most private, personal space and give this woman your undivided attention. Think about what the fuck she has gone through. And then let's figure out how to take care of this goddamn business. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Said I'm gone. And thank you, Patty. And thank you to Kyle, PC, Sumami, Trees. I love y'all. All right.